The following program is a collection of stooges talking about happenings in the sports world. It is meant to be comedic informative. The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of their peers, their boss, or ESPN. There may be some cuss words because that's how humans in the real world talk. If you are young, please seek permission before watching any further.
Hey.
What?
Let's go!
This show stinks, and the fact that you listen, we are very, very thankful for it.
McAfee on the line with a gorgeous assist.
The all-time leading tackler for the Green Bay Packers.
You pig!
Stutter! Damn it! Be a friend, tell a friend something nice could change their life. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this program on a glorious National Championship Monday, April 7th, 2025. This program starts right now.
Sports!
Are happening in a big way, and we're so incredibly lucky that we get to cover it, especially on a National Championship Day, especially on the first day in which we get to talk about a record being broken that nobody thought was going to be broken, especially on a day where there's numerous sports that are rising to the occasion to make sure we are all entertained with competition night in and night out. And I am live here at the Target Center in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota! For tonight's Monday Night Raw, live on Netflix. First Raw back in America. It's going to be glorious. It's 8 p.m. Eastern. A lot of magic will be happening here. And then on Wednesday night, we have Big Night Out. And had a chance to do a little bit of a rehearsal for that yesterday, kind of a stage run through, and it's going to be a magical evening. 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, TikTok Live, and also streaming on X. Big surprises, big sing-alongs, big laughs, and massive giveaways. I think Wednesday night is going to be an electrifying evening, as will be tonight, when the national champions of the men's college basketball world will be crowned. Will it be Houston, who somehow, with less than a minute left, were down 6 against Duke team that was supposed to be untoppable? And some people are saying that the Duke team tricked this one off. And I believe you're going to hear some people back in the Thunderdome that are going to say that. What I would like to say is this Houston team showed up in the biggest of times. Their defense is what anybody would talk about. Their defense was what people said that Kelvin Sampson does differently. In his practices, he actually has his boys basically do football practice. If you're going to play Houston, it's going to be a long damn game. And obviously, Cooper Flagg couldn't buy a bounce at the end of that game. I mean, he was rattling out. Bank shots were banking out. Everything was happening, but Houston got fire, and Houston's defense took over. That was an electrifying finish to a Final Four in a madness of March that hasn't had much madness until this moment being certainly the largest. Good luck. And congrats to Houston, who takes on a Florida team that Seth Greenberg from SEC-ESPN has been saying has been the team all year long. They got a guy named Mark Clayton Jr., who's doing shit that hasn't been done since Larry Bird, averaging 30 points basically throughout the biggest games of the season here down the tail. Took over at the end of this game against Auburn. It was literally him versus Auburn at the end of the game. Florida pulls away. Florida goes on to the national championship to take on Kelvin Sampson's team. Now, will Kelvin Sampson's team foul the shit out of Walter Clayton Jr.? I would assume. I would assume that that is going to be something that they will do, but they try to do that to everybody. This Clayton Jr. guy is electrifying. He's able to make his own baskets. He transferred. He is a veteran, and Florida team's fun to watch, as is Houston. Now, back to the boys in the Thunderdome. One half of the Hammer.
Dahn!
Cowboys, AP Tone. Tone, whenever we look at tonight's game, what are some of the gambling things we should be thinking about before we lay our shekels on one of these squads?
Yeah, before we move forward, we must go back. And what's been the story of the tournament, the whole tournament, it's been the favorites. The favorites just ripped out Boston Connor's heart in the first couple rounds because he was betting on all the underdogs to win on the money line, and they did not. And that trend did not stop, Pat. For the first time in history, favorites went 12-0 straight up in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Before that Duke loss, there was 15 straight favorites that had won straight up. Before that Duke loss, they were on a run that they could not lose. So story of the tournament has been of the favorites winning. Now, Florida is the favorite tonight. If Florida were to win, they would be the greatest against the spread champion of all time.
What?
Woo. 29.
Thank you for what you've done.
Yes, they would be 29 and 11 against the spread. Would the Florida Gators be this year?
Okay.
Now, if you want to look at that, Florida favorites, that's where you go tonight if that's how you want to take this. Now, if you want to go the over-under route, we know how Houston plays. We know how hard they play. We know the tempo they play at. We know the defense they play at. Houston unders this tournament have gone 4-1. That's just kind of how they play ball. It's just kind of how their ball games go. But on the other side, Florida's 4-1 to the over. So if you think Houston can control the game tonight with their tempo and with their defense, maybe lean to the under. But if you think Florida's going to have your way, then it's a potential over game in that scenario. But the way the tournament has gone, favorites and unders have actually been the way to go this tournament. So we will see tonight.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
No.
One more.
Nope. One more. There it is.
Can you hear me?
There it is.
Yep.
Okay, that's on me. I got a new keyboard over here. Over here that I'm trying to work with it. And I think I'm potentially freezing up as well. If that ends up happening, we'll just reconnect this Zoom call. But whenever you talk about this Houston defense and the under, would like that for the first half, wouldn't you? Because national championship maybe get a little bit tight, especially if you're a shooting team. Let's go to 9-year NFL vet and host of Everything DB, Good D, Bad D, from UConn. Obviously, he didn't play basketball up there, but they're certainly touting their greatness at this moment. What are you looking at for tonight's game? And congrats to your UConn Husky women winning their 12th national championship. Is that what the number is?
12. First one came back in 1995, and now obviously 2025. Another one. Just utter dominance from Gino Orium and the squad. Paige buckets. This was for her, This was to kind of put that cherry on the cake, icing on the cake, all that good stuff, man. She's been an absolute dog, had a phenomenal career, and now she can go amongst all the other greats that play at UConn. You saw Taurasi, Sue Bird, they had the show, obviously, and all the legends that were in the crowd, Bree Stewart, Maya Moore, and many, many more. But absolutely dominant run, belt to ass over South Carolina, defending champs. But this was great to see Paige go out like this. Big Sarah Strong. Dominant, best freshman in the country. Wow. So we'll be on her back for the next 3 years. Fudd as well put on the show. The big three did their thing. But tonight, you talked about it. Houston, they're dominant defense with Kelvin Sampson. The other coach, a big 30-year gap between these two coaches. But Walter Clayton Jr., I don't know where he was ranked, where he is right now on the big draft board, but back-to-back 30 balls in the biggest moments of his career. Betting on himself, getting to Florida. I think he was like the 69th ranked guy in the transfer portal a couple years ago. So betting himself, sticking to the script. This game should be a banger tonight, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I can't wait for it as well. And the One Shining Moment video should be great. And we'll talk more about the national championship with Jay Will, who will be joining us at about 12:40 Eastern. And then Seth Greenberg will join us in the second hour. And then we'll have the Moose, Captain Mark Messier, join us in the second hour as well to chit-chat about history being broke this past weekend. And the chase by the Great Eight has been happening for the better half of the season this year, and nobody really expected this particular record to ever be broken. Actually, in 2016, Alexander Ovechkin said that the goals record set by Wayne Gretzky back in the 90s was never going to be broken because it sounds like a number that is absolutely ludicrous, which it was. There's a lot of records in sports that a lot of people assume are never going to be able to be caught for one reason or another. What Wayno had been able to do throughout his career was unprecedented, obviously, and heralded as the greatest of all time, which is why he's the great one. Then this Russian goal-scoring machine came over to the NHL, and all he has done literally since landing here is score goals, rip net, clap bomb city. He'd sit in his office, puck will come over. How's it going? Stick to net guaranteed. I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. So Sidney Crosby, Geno Malkin, Chris Letang, Marc-Andre Fleury and the boys, they were winning Stanley Cups at the beginning of Ovi's great career, but he was the biggest rival. Will he ever be able to get it done? Well, he did. He wins a Stanley Cup, celebrates the hell out of it, becomes a babyface, and now he's a man who's going to be remembered as the greatest goal scorer in the history of hockey. Congrats to him, because not only is he a goal scorer, not only has he been around and putting the NHL on his back for a long time, decades and plus, almost 2 decades in this entire thing, but he is a dog. You're talking about a guy who's willing to fight. You're talking about a guy that was willing to stand up for his teammates. You're talking about a guy that has been loyal to the Capitals. You're talking about a guy that his teammates love. And you're talking about a guy who crack open an ice-cold beer after having a great night. This guy is everything that you want to think of whenever you think of hockey, you know. And does he have the greatest smile? Maybe not. Is he the most handsome guy? Maybe not. Does he have a dad bod? Yeah. Will he house a couple vodkas if need be? Yeah. You get him on the ice, he's able to put the puck in between the posts better than anybody in the history of the sport. Wayno was there, obviously, to celebrate him, and Wayne said that anytime somebody was to break this record, he wanted to be the first person to congratulate him. He obviously wasn't able to do that because his entire team celebrated with him on the ice, as did the New York Islanders fans in the arena at this away game. And it was such a perfect goal for Ovi to break the record on. In his office, a little bit of touch, absolutely electrifying. And what the Islanders fans and the Capitals fans that were in that building did immediately after it went in, just a superior moment in sports. And let's go to a man who used to host a show called That's Hockey Talk. Frankie Skates in the back. Nick, obviously this was a record nobody thought would be able to be touched. This dude's special, and I think we're lucky that we
would never be touched. Ovi himself, as you mentioned, said it was untouchable, and he didn't think he'd get there. The ability to stay healthy for this long and play at a high level is crazy. I mean, we're almost 20 seasons into this thing. He broke his leg earlier this year. That's not talked about enough, and he only missed a handful of games with a broken tibia, and he comes back and he just keeps scoring 40 goals at a 39-year-old at that pace is unbelievable. And for him to still be doing this at this age this is not just a player hanging on to a team. Like, this team is in first place. They are dominant, and he is a massive piece of it. So it's awesome to see it happen in real time. It's history in the making. It's great to see everyone come together and celebrate it, because for a lot of his career, he was polarizing in the sense that, you know, he wasn't the best defensive player. He was one of the most dominant players in the game, and it's absolutely awesome to see what this has turned into. There's an old saying about the Mount Rushmore in hockey. It was Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Gordie Howe, and Bobby Orr. And now you can't take any of those guys off. They're just going to have to carve another mountain. And it's going to be Ovi. It's going to be Sid, maybe Nick Lidstrom. And you talk about like guys who have a chance to earn that fourth spot, like McJesus, Connor McDavid, or maybe a Cale Makar or Nathan McKinnon, someone like that. But it's absolutely awesome to see, and it's incredible for the sport.
Yeah, and I saw Wayno right after saying, hey, you get to 900, I'll buy you a car. So maybe Ovechkin keeps going. Do you think this is it, Nick? Like, is he done? Has it been talked about as him kind of retiring, sailing off into the sunset after this run? Or do we think maybe, Ovi runs it back one more time?
I don't think he's done. I think a while ago, maybe this might have been it. This might have been the only thing to play for. But now the Capitals are a good team again. They kind of went through a mini rebuild a couple years ago where they were not playing well. And now they're back on top. They're poised to make another cup run. So why walk away now? I mean, at the pace he's going, you play 2 more seasons, you got a shot at scoring 1,000 goals and making this record almost absolutely untouchable for certain. And there's no one else like him. He's not the hardest trainer. He's not the hardest worker. Look at him, just pounding a brew.
Gotta love it.
Allegedly drinks, Diet Pepsi on the bench, eats his flaming hot Cheetos, and just still goes out there and crushes and dominates the game. He's one of one. There'll never be another like him. He does it his own way. He takes all the criticism and just keeps going through it. He's been healthy his entire career. Like I said, that just goes to show the breaking the leg thing earlier this year. Absolutely insane to come back and play through that and recover from that so quickly. And it's uncanny. And I don't know how you match it. I don't know. He's a unicorn. He's one of one.
The grade 8.
Yeah, if he was done, him and Beer League would be pretty sweet. I mean, if he's just going to call it, maybe he goes back, KHL in Russia, or, hangs around Washington and just crushes a few Beer League hockey games. Who says no? Why not?
Any other records in reach for Ovi?
I'm sure there's like some power play goal records and things like that, but this was the main one. This was the focus. And you could kind of, the Capitals haven't been winning a lot of games lately, and I feel like this may be something that was hanging over the team's head. I'd look for them to go on a bit of a run here now that we got, 4 or 5 games left into the playoffs, because now that this is over, I feel like everyone can breathe a lot easier and just go out there and have fun.
This was just like whenever Steph was trying to break the all-time made threes record. Do you remember that? They were like kind of forcing them it. Steph was kind of forcing it a little bit. Not as many were falling. And whenever they literally had a tracker just on Ovechkin, and he even when he was sitting on the bench, I tried to watch the game, and it was just an Ovechkin cam and then the game cam. And I appreciated it because obviously I love greatness, and I love whenever people make magic and whenever history is broke and records that are seemingly untouchable become touchable and become like almost human. But it was the entire focus of the NHL was seemingly on Ovi breaking this record. And if you're a teammate of his, you got to feel that pressure too. Like, do we got to get him the puck? Not that you shouldn't be getting him the puck, but I'm just saying, like, we're in the middle of a moment that's going to be remembered forever. And I don't want to say the attention gets taken away from the games itself, but they definitely did. I mean, they're losing these games. Ovi scoring 2 goals, and it's still like a happy night for hockey fans because it's like Ovi's about to get there. This Capitals team can win another cup this year. And since they got this out of the way, what a weight lifted off of their pads. What a relief, I assume, to get it out of the conversation before the most important part of the hockey season, which is obviously the playoffs. As you see Bettman out on the ice with old Wayno, all the hockey greats obviously celebrating. We'll talk to Mark Messier in the next hour about it. It's just like, what a perfect dude for it, and what a perfect time for it. Good for hockey. Hockey is awesome. Now, not only hockey, not only college hoops, and we'll talk NFL here in a matter of moments with Ian Rappaport, but there's a sport that's called a pastime that might be our new time. Baseball's happening. Let's go to the talks table at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt. Ty Schmidt, baseball had an electrifying weekend. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, absolutely. There were 5 walk-offs yesterday, 5 walk-off wins, which again, you know,
what?
Massive. You're especially early on. First one we got here, Wilmer Flores walks off the Mariners for the Giants. A lot of people want to talk about the Dodgers, and rightfully so. The Giants have only lost 1 game this year. That NL West is absolutely ridiculous. So, you know, a single, not you know, we're not talking about a 800-foot walk-off homer, but anytime you're ending the game in the last inning, it's absolutely phenomenal. Next one here, Jonah Heim for the Texas Rangers. They walked off the Tampa Bay Rays in the 9th inning. Same deal, walk-off single. The Rangers, another one of those teams not a lot of people talk about. You know, they made it to a World Series a couple years ago, won one. They have the best record in the AL right now. So we when we stayed down for the national championship, their brand new ballpark was right there. It's beautiful. They got a fun team. And then, you know, this is gonna make Connor kind of come back into the fray. Wilyer Abreu with a walk-off single off the Green Monster. This one was in the bottom of the 10th. This was the first of a day-night doubleheader that the Red Sox and the Cardinals played. So, again, you know, we're not a whole lot of walk-off bombs, which could be a little bit more exciting. But then you got, you know, something like this. The Detroit Tigers, Spencer Torkelson, former number 1 pick, who's kind of been trying to find his way and solidify his place in the MLB. The Tigers scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th to walk off the White Sox. And, I mean, you just see, look at that. You know, I don't know if they're throwing, like, baby powder. That didn't really look like water, but
Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. It's Detroit. The boys get really juiced up. And then, obviously, the last one. Unfortunately, we knew this. Yep. We knew this was going to happen when Roberto Clemente Jr.'s son basically said, like, hey, if you guys don't put my dad's number back on the outfield wall, we're going to disgrace and ruin the Pirates. And then, like, moments later, Tommy Pham walked with a walk-off single to send home the Yankees and salvage potentially getting swept. So, again, you know, we're not talking about, it's not like the torpedo bats, and we're not getting a bunch of, like, the 500-foot home runs, but having 5 walk-off wins in one day, pretty solid for baseball when you got the Ovechkin stuff going on and the Final Four in the national championship. Like, baseball kind of, you know, I'd say they held their own this weekend when, you know, a lot of the other sports had, you know, pretty big storylines happening.
Baseball hasn't sucked this year. I love that.
No.
I'm like very happy about that. You know, I was talking to Michael Cole about it.
Sure.
And, you know, Cole loves baseball, but it's pretty simple is what it kind of bears down to. When your stars perform, your league's in a good spot. Like that is any league. Like, if you have stars, better. If your stars perform well, best case situation. Baseball right now, there's stars. There's stars in New York. There's stars in LA. There's stars on small market teams. Even the bats have become stars, these torpedoes. And all of them are showing up. You think about like Paul Skeens. He shows up. I think his next time pitching's on Tuesday. I think it's going to be 38 degrees.
Nice.
Okay?
Yeah,
I think it's
great.
going to be 30. I think it's going to be 38 degrees or whatever.
Damn.
But he's going to show up. We know he's going to show up. Shohei Ohtani, he's going to show up just like whenever it's the bottom of the ninth and it's a tie game. Shohei Ohtani is going to walk right into the batter's box and he's going to do his thing. When Aaron Judge is going to show up. Juan Soto. Now, I know Yankees fans don't want to hear this, and I saw a cut of him playing out in the outfield. I guess they say he doesn't show up.
Yeah,
out there.
they're not very fair to his,
The Yankees fans.
his defensive prowess. But at the dish, you're right. He is always going to show up.
But that's a big deal, I think, for your sport. Just like the NHL. Stars. Alexander Ovechkin. Star showing up in a big way. Connor McDavid, obviously running through last year's playoffs to get the Stanley Cup and not winning, shows up. Kachuk and the boys show when your stars are showing up for your sport. I think you have a great sport. It's whenever your stars don't play or do some things that make people hate them. That is when What's that, Conman?
It's a little tough. I think I know what sport you're going to, but it does make the sport.
What are you talking about?
When you say those things, maybe you weren't, but kind of a light goes off in your head, like, oh, the NBA, of course, yeah. I think that's what everybody kind of assumes.
No, all the stars are showing up in the NBA.
True.
The NBA had a.
For the most part, I mean, look, a lot of people are talking about OKC now. Last week, OKC, I heard Mike Greenberg talking about
Battle of the Ball.
Hey, they're great. They're one of the best teams ever, possibly.
Greeny didn't say that.
One of the best regular seasons of all time. Yes, he did. He said the 85 Lakers.
He didn't say that.
He said one of the Lakers teams. He said the 96 Bulls. Then he said the OKC Thunder, because OKC Thunder's point differential is over plus 1,000. But then the Lake Show comes to town. They go to that tiny shithole Oklahoma City. And, guess what? LeBron and Luka Doncic are doing no-look passes all over the yard, and they beat the piss out of the Thunder. And I know if you're a Thunder fan, you're going to say, well, we're going to win 70 games, and then you guys are only going to talk about when the Lakers come to town and kill us. That's kind of unfair. That's also not true, because we talked about when the Thunder beat the Celtics, so I completely get that. But, no, basketball is also in a pretty good spot, Pat. I mean, the Western Conference, we're talking about a play-in game, I believe, happening this week, and those play-in spots right now, I mean, between the 8th seed and the 6th seed, I think there's half a game difference between those teams, and some of those teams are very legitimate. I know the Clippers are right on the edge there, the T-Wolves and Ant right on the edge as well, and then some of those matchups already in the first round in the West are incredible. We're kind of moving towards the Warriors, Lakers again, not so much the 5-4 spot, but 3-6 now, and then the Nuggets, Clippers, that would be another incredible little matchup there, and of course OKC still very, very well ahead of the pack. They kind of locked in to that 1 seed, but the basketball is heating up. And also on the East, I have to say, yes, the Celtics covered a 19-point spread last night. No big deal. 19 points. Who cares? We got it. Celtics also broke the record for most three-pointers in a single season, but look, this is Indiana, baby. This is the state of basketball. The Pacers went over to the Denver, and who knows if the altitude helped them. I assume it did, but they got a massive victory over Jokic and the boys. Russell Westbrook actually almost murdered a kid on the court because he dove over trying to get a loose ball. Gave the kid a swift elbow to the jaw, but it didn't really matter. Kid was a true champion about it. He was unfazed, but seriously, the Pacers, Halliburton, all the boys, they're kind of playing their best basketball at the perfect time. Obviously, Denver's one of the better teams in the league, and they kind of took care of business, especially in the fourth, where you thought, okay, here comes Denver. Maybe, the Pacers kind of let this one go. No thanks. They hung on, won by 5. And if you are a Pacers fan right now, you are kind of getting that feeling of, 2024 like last year, where they got very hot. And, the matchup there, them versus the Bucks, them and the Bucks have had some bad blood. So it would be a fantastic time for the NBA to have those kind of matchups in this first round.
Well, listen, I appreciate the breakdown there. Great work, Connor. We've been saying since the All-Star break that the Pacers are the best team in the NBA. Sure. Now, were they? Maybe not. Maybe a couple other teams up in there. But the Pacers have been balling. Tyrese Halliburton is on like a record-breaking streak right now. Something like 200. Yeah, here it is. 201 assists, only 20 turnovers. Muggsy Bogues, dog, is the only other person to do that since 1983, 1984. Tyrese Halliburton is the man. And look at his perfect Puma shoes. You know, he's so clever. I love everything that Tyrese is doing. What a win against Denver. You go back to that OKC game. ESPN Research sent over the Oklahoma City Thunder have spent all season long 12 minutes and 17 seconds trailing by 20 plus all season. And then against the Lakers, they spent 28 minutes and 54 seconds trailing by 20 plus. So
crazy.
To talk about a one-game anomaly and an ass beating of this Oklahoma City team, the Lakers certainly did that. And now is Lucas still done for? Is he still a waste of a pick, or are we okay with him now?
So I think he's good now.
I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Saw that no-look pass. It's ridiculous.
You'll be all right.
I love Austin Reeves and LeBron James talking shit to each other afterwards in the locker room. I mean, I really like how this team has seemingly come together. I like how LeBron, maybe I'm paying attention to it more, maybe because we're a little bit closer to the whole situation. Feels like since the LeBron conversation, he's been a lot more loose.
Yeah.
Feels like him talking shit to Austin Reeves, him talking on the sideline, him chit-chatting with reporters, him laughing. I've really enjoyed watching Bron since the LeBron conversation, and I'm not saying anything has changed, but I'm just saying it feels like there is a vibe shift for that Lakers team from my perspective whenever we watch them. I think they're likable. What happened with Dallas with Luka, obviously Bron for what he did for us, we like him. Austin Reeves talking his shit and doing his thing, dressing the way he's dressing. It's like JJ Redick is an animal. It's a likable team somehow in LA. And we'll continue to cover the NBA season. We're lucky to be doing it. Shout out to the NBA performing. And once again, stars showing up. That's a big deal. Joining us now is a star from NFL Network, senior insider for the NFL, friend of the program, ladies and gentlemen, Ian Rappaport.
What's up?
Rappy, thank you for joining us, Bob. I know you're super busy. We just talked about all the other sports that are happening. What's the big news around the NFL? Shador and the Titans canceling their workout? That feels like that's the big news. A couple retirements. What is the big NFL news of the day here, Rap Sheet?
It kind of feels like the Shador thing, right? So obviously on Friday, Colorado had its showcase, not a pro day, but a showcase, which
it was awesome, I think. Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. I would agree with that.
Dion yelling at scouts. Dion yelling at scouts, telling them, "Hey, you don't tell my guys how to run 40s. Okay, you just got here. Get the hell out of the way." I think Shador did a great job. I think Travis ran some great routes with no gloves on his hands. I feel like it was a win for everybody at this showcase. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, there's a lot on Travis Hunter, and I want to get to that in a second, because him deciding to run routes but not doing DB drills is interesting, but hold that for 1 second. The Shador Sanders look good, and if you're someone who wants to draft him at 2 or 3 or early, you saw enough where you're like, all right, like obviously the talent is there. The arm strength is, I don't know who said he couldn't throw deep. They were all angry about somebody saying that. I have not yet found the culprit of such accusations, but he has proved that that is not the case. And then, you sort of get word that the Titans mutually canceled a visit with Shador, which I would say to me makes sense because it looks like the Titans are going in one direction. They haven't officially confirmed or announced, but it looks like they're going in one direction, which would be to select Cam Ward at number 1. And then if that's the case, then I'm not sure what the point of a Shador workout anyway is, especially when it worked out for the whole world like 3 days before. So that makes sense. But in the context of like giving us an idea for what the Titans want to do, I think that's why it kind of stood out to everyone as maybe the biggest news of this weekend.
Cam Ward going number 1 to the Tennessee Titans, seemingly signed, sealed, delivered. Big convo around NFL players was Shador patting the ball. Patting the ball. Obviously, that is fun on the internet, and if you follow the internet, a lot of things are going to become storylines. Darius Slayton in there, Micah in there, numerous others chit-chatting about Shador, and that is kind of what Shador is. He is a lightning rod. Anything he does, people are going to talk about. He actually said that in the press conference. He goes, anywhere I go, there's a spotlight. I've been kind of followed through it all. And Andre Cisco says, boy, better stop patting that ball. We breaking on it.
Come on.
And I like the way he types out his words. I appreciate that. Then Darius Slayton of the Giants, okay, potential teammate here of Shedeur. I promise he can pat the ball and be just fine. Okay, he throws me 15, 20 balls a game. There's going to be no problem if he's patting it before it leaves his hand. But Shedeur even mentioned it. Like, everything he does gets followed. Everything he does get clicks. I mean, he's got people talking about his pro day and whether or not he's patting the ball. I just saw a video of Drake May working out. I think he patted the ball a couple times. I think Aaron even every once in a while will do that. But is he doing as much as Shedeur is doing it? You know, like, this is like Shedeur Sanders football. Teams know that they're signing up for a lot of attention. Teams know they're signing up for, all eyes on their brand. What do you think happens with Shedeur after the pro day? And what do you think I don't want to say kind of earned after his pro day, or what is the convo about him? I thought he looked good. While I was watching the pro day, I actually thought to myself, like, they say open competition at quarterback here in Indianapolis. I mean, why don't we, I like the way he looked at the pro day. But what is the kind of the convo now with him?
Well, a couple things. I would agree with what Shedeur said afterward, and he's talked about this publicly before. Like, he is in the spotlight, everything he does, no matter what, more than any other draft prospect. It's not like unprecedented. There's a couple of these draft prospects every year, but it does seem because of his last name that it's ramped up a little bit. So I want to tell you guys a quick Shedeur Sanders story, and I mentioned this during our Combine coverage on NFL Network. So the lead up to the Combine, I was trying to figure out what Shedeur was going to do at the Combine. Was he going to throw there, or was he going to wait for his pro day? So I contact someone who kind of works with the Sanders family, and I say, who's the point man? Like, he doesn't have an agent. Who's kind of the person that media talks to so I could figure out if he's throwing? And the response I get is, Coach will contact you directly. And I'm like, Coach? Okay, well, there's not that many coaches. I'm like, would probably be Dahn, but that's kind of strange, but okay. 5 minutes later, I get a FaceTime from a number I don't recognize. I answer it, obviously, Deion Sanders, which was fun because I had my kids in the car and they got a big kick out of Deion Sanders FaceTiming.
Dad's famous. He's got Coach Prime calling.
Right. This is
what about?
By the way, Max then told people at school, and they were like, "Yeah, sure, Max." Pretty funny. But anyway, so he's like, what do you like? What's going on, Rap? What do you need? And I'm like, I want to know what Shedeur's doing. He goes, hold on 1 second. Gives the phone to Shedeur, and he goes, talk to Rap Sheet. And so we talked. Told me what he was doing. Told me why. Explained the plan, and talked about a couple other things that he was focusing on the next couple weeks. Hands the phone back to his dad, and he was like, you good? I was like, I'm good. And it was just an unbelievably mature, level-headed, grounded way of handling what could have been a huge issue, but like Deion wanted to make sure that Shedeur handled it himself. And I was like, this is not normal. And so like whatever comes at him, like this is someone who really is trained to handle all of it, and I was pretty impressed by that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people bringing up, how many wins did they have at Colorado and yada, yada, yada. And it's like they literally rebuilt a program over there. Like yeah. And now granted, did they have a reality TV show happening at the same time via social media? Yes. Did they have a documentary happening at the same time? Yes. Coach Prime, is he one of one? Yes. There's like a lot of outliers. Travis Hunter, Heisman winner, obviously might be the number 2 overall pick, which is what everybody's saying. It's like that certainly helps. But they had to rebuild an entire program. His toughness obviously shined physically and mentally. It's just whether or not Shedeur is the guy for your team, I guess comes down to a couple people enjoying his personality. Is that kind of what it is now? Like, because that was like a little bit of a chat, or what do you think it is at this point? And it might have been Orlovsky that they were getting mad about, saying, because Orlovsky said he wanted to see him step on one. Of course. That's what he wanted. He said he wanted to see the ball come out of Shedeur's. Remember?
Is that what it was?
He said that on our show.
Yeah, he did. Want to see
pop out of his hands. He said he wants to see the ball come out of his hands, and he wants to see him like step on one, really drive one. Like Orlovsky said that. So I don't think he was saying he didn't believe it. I think he was just saying 55% of Shedeur's passes in college were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. He wanted to see him open it because Dan Orlovsky's super, analyst, super analyst.
Sure.
So like I think that's what Orlovsky said, but I do appreciate if they got pissed off about it. Could have been others. But like, is that what it is? Is it like, are you ready for like kind of everything else that comes with it that teams are trying to figure out? Or is it whether or not teams are trying to figure out they want a quarterback early still?
Well, there are teams that need a quarterback no matter what. Like the Browns need another one from somewhere. The Giants don't need another one because they signed Russell Wilson, but they don't have a quarterback of the future. They could definitely have one. There's plenty of others. It's really just, is it worth the selection, right? Or like if you take Shador Sanders and let's say you think he's a mid first round pick. Let's just say pick out a random evaluation. Let's say you think that, but you take him at 2 or 3 or 6 or wherever the Saints pick or whatever it is. Like, is that a reach or is that worth it? And are you passing on a generational talent like, let's just say Travis Hunter? I mean, these are the conversations about the value and what it's worth. I don't think it's like as far as the personality goes, there's a lot that goes into drafting a quarterback. And I think going into my 13th year doing it, and I really have no idea what differentiates a great quarterback prospect who's going to succeed and one who does not succeed.
Man.
Like it's been, and obviously like teams.
There's a lot of bus, brother. There's a lot of bus.
yeah.
Nobody
And
talks
they all
about
look
it.
the
There's
same
a lot
coming
of bus. Yeah. Agreed. You got to figure out the mental makeup. That's why you would think a guy who's been a professional since he was a child would be good. But
would agree.
Nonetheless, let's move past Shador. Let's move past Cam Ward. Let's move past Travis Hunter. There's been some news about somebody attending the draft. D-Butt has a question for you.
Yeah, you're talking about these quarterbacks coming out. We pretty much got a good grip on who's going to be the top 2. But what are you hearing as far as Jackson Dart and then Jalen Milroe accepting the invite to go to the draft in Green Bay? I know that surprised some people. What are you hearing about his stock as well as the draft gets closer?
All right. So first of all, on Milroe, I have not confirmed anything about a draft invite, and at NFL Network, those will get announced when they get announced.
Whoa.
Uh-oh. Remember last time you did this?
Oh, no. Yeah. Here we go. We got a little source off. All right.
I will not confirm. I mean, it makes sense, but I will not. I do not touch those.
Does it?
Those will get announced.
Okay.
If a player gets invited, let's just say if a player gets invited, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going in the first round. It means plenty of teams view him as a first rounder or whatever it is, right? Like, because every year there are players who get invited and then don't get taken in the first round. You said, oh, well, this is a first round pick, but this other guy fell to me. I'm going to take him instead. And a guy falls out of the draft. So, like, it was interesting to me when I saw the report. I don't necessarily know that means Jalen Milroe is definitely going in the first round, but it does seem to mean that he's in that conversation, which, like you're saying, D-Butt, does that make us kind of go like, all right, hang on. Like, is he in contention to be the third quarterback taken? It sounds like he is. So it'd be like Jackson Dart, who could potentially be the third. You have Jalen Milroe. You have Quinn Ewers. Like, the evaluations are all over the map. And that's why, like, I was not surprised when I saw the report, but I was like, all right, like, this really is more all over than I even realized, and was going to lead to an unbelievably wild first and maybe second round of this draft.
Yeah, the draft spectacular should be just that. And, maybe we'll see you out there in Green Bay because branches, which are happening all over the place. I would like to say in my life, even though, some happening sooner than later. But yeah, draft night should be incredible. And the reason why the college conversation about quarterbacks coming into the draft is so big is because what is the veteran quarterback market? Well, it's kind of already settled in a little bit, except for one guy. AP Tone has a question for you, Rap.
Yeah, Ian, a local Pittsburgh Steelers accumulator account took your video from this morning on the latest on Aaron Rodgers and said that you said if Aaron Rodgers is going to play in 2025, it's going to be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So does that mean things have changed where the Vikings are now 100% out instead of 99% out, or what's the latest on Aaron?
I appreciate that. I would say the Vikings are as out as they could be right now. Like, if Aaron is not signed by like August and something terrible happens to either the Vikings or someone else, he would be the top guy available by a lot. I think Ryan Tannehill was in the situation last year. Tannehill ended up not signing, and kind of that's where it stays.
Wow.
I would be very surprised if Rodgers waited till after the draft. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't the Steelers if he plays. What I have not 100% been able to nail down is he absolutely, definitely playing? And I think that's why this conversation is sort of still ongoing. Plus, like, as you guys know, unless I am inside, and Kyle Brand actually asked me a great question on Good Morning Football, was like, how do you report on Aaron Rodgers? Because his circle is so tight. And it's like, you do it by sticking to what you absolutely know. And so, like, what I think about Rodgers what he's doing isn't really as meaningful as what I know. And what I know is he had a good visit to the Steelers. And what I know is that he has not signed yet. That's basically it. And so that's kind of why I said what I said. I still believe that it's probably headed in that direction, which is what Art Rooney said. But until Rodgers comes out and says it in whatever form, in whatever show or format or broadcast.
Rap, why don't you give Aaron some opinions or your advice? Why don't you do that? Yeah. I'm sure that'll work out too. You know, you talk about knowing or opining upon. Why don't you tell him like exactly what you think he should do?
Go on.
You think he's watching right now? Probably, right?
No, but a clip will get to him for sure. he might be. Yeah, he's not watching right now, but the clip will make it to him. Not from us, but from somebody, I would assume. Why don't you just tell him what you think he should do? Tell him exactly how he should handle, his career, his legacy, his.
You really want? I mean, I have opinions. Do you want to know my opinions?
Yeah, quickly, because we got to get to J. Will in the national championship here soon. But yeah, what are your opinions? Do you think he should go to Pittsburgh? Do you think he should sign with Pittsburgh? Do you think they should have a hell of a team next year and go on a run?
Take as much time as you need. Talking about it on TV.
Okay. All right. You knew it was going to do the complete opposite. That's a good play. That's a good play. All right, last questions here coming from the Toxic Table back to back. Go ahead, boys.
Hey, Rap Sheet, we had Trey Hendrickson on the show last week, and he basically just said like he was kind of surprised by Katie Blackburn's comments. He thought it was like a April Fool's joke, essentially, about her saying, hey, like he at some point he just needs to be happy with what we offer him. Do we see there being any kind of resolution with this in the near future? Like, is there a potential that something's going to happen before the draft, whether he gets a deal or he gets traded?
First of all, great interview. I thought the whole thing was very, very compelling and excellent.
Thank you.
It got weird. I'm good. Not your interview, but the hearing Katie Blackburn, who rarely does media, say that was really interesting. I mean, I kind of thought the same thing. Not April Fools. I hate April Fools, but I was like, wow. Look, it's been a little spicy. There's been 2 trade requests, one last year, one this year. This year actually is permission, but no trade has happened. So, it's a little messy. I believe the Bengals would like to keep him and pay him and make it work. They are not in the business of letting good players go. So even when they granted him permission to seek a trade, I believe their best option was to sign him and pay him. We'll see if that happens. I still think it is very, very possible. And if that happens, despite all the mess, it'll be a really, really good offseason in Cincinnati.
Absolutely. And, Kelsey Conway, incredible reporting there with Katie Blackburn over in Cincinnati. Trey Hendrickson seemingly does love the Bengals. Oh, yeah. And he said he was told last offseason that they'll get a deal done this offseason. And he understands Jamar Chase, T. Higgins got to do what they got to do. But I think he's like, you guys are telling people that you're going to get a deal done. You told me you're going to get a deal done, and then we haven't even talked. So I don't know how that works out. Hopefully it does work out because Cincinnati has a stud sack. King, last question here from Boston, Connor.
Yeah, Rap Sheet, another guy who's kind of been floated out there as being traded, Tyreek Hill. What's going on in Miami with him? Is there a chance he actually does get moved again, or are they probably going to come to some sort of agreement? Because I believe it was Mike McDaniel who said last week at the league meetings, like, hey, Tyreek's been in the facility more than any other offseason this year.
Yeah, I saw he posted something where it was like mimicking a phone call, then it was like, yeah, this one. And I'm like, are we still doing this?
Tyreek football.
I would not be, nothing that would happen in the NFL ever, ever, ever. Got to make your bed before you do this. Social media. I mean, you just got to make your bed. I'm just saying, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least do the thing where you fold over and the pillows are there. Whatever.
Yeah,
I'm a big bed maker. I make my bed every day.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it's definitely you. Yeah.
No,
Your
I
wife
do.
does everything for you.
No.
We know.
No. I fold the laundry and I make the bed every day. That's it. I have very few other chores, but that's what I do. She if it were her,
little close,
never be made. It's ridiculous. It's a mess.
Okay, nonetheless, I appreciate the fact that you're watching this, just going, what is this about? I thought we were already past this, and now we're potentially right back in it, and he needs to make his bed in the hotel that he's in.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically sums up my thoughts. I would never say never on anything. I would be surprised and also make your bed.
All right. Hey, we appreciate the hell out of you, man. Thank you for keeping us updated. You're the man. Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Rappaport.
Yeah.
So not a lot happening in the NFL right now. Julio Jones announces his retirement. Congratulations, Julio, on a hell of a run.
Julio.
You know, Coach Saban came on the show and talked about how Julio reset the standard basically at Alabama. Told people like, hey, that's not how we do it around here. Everybody that talks about him says how great of a teammate he was, how great of a leader he was. Obviously, he is a guy that is built differently than everybody else. Could have one of the greatest catches in the history of football, but his team gave up the biggest lead in the history of the Super Bowl. So whenever you talk about Julio Jones, you talk about a physical specimen that changed games that everybody loved. And I appreciated the fact that he was just so damn dominating. And 2011, got to see it up close and personal.
Jeez.
And I don't know how he caught that. Still to this day, I have no idea how he caught that. AB right there on the coverage, great work out of him. And I do appreciate that Throwback YouTube decided to have Colts highlights on here. And that was the one we went with. But yeah, watched him go bonkers one day in Lucas Oil Stadium. D-Butt, he was different, man. He was just a different athlete. You could obviously speak to that more than anybody else.
Yeah, he was a different dog. He's the epitome of a game wrecker. Like his size, you know, whatever the Falcons, I remember they traded a bunch to jump up in the draft and go and get him early in the draft. But his size, speed, quickness combination, then you can see here his ball skills, actually being able to go up and catch that ball. So week in and week out, he's a game wrecker. I believe the most games for a wide receiver over 250 yards, an ultimate separator, an ultimate game breaker, and then a great guy, a great character guy in the locker room and off the field. He never really caused any problems or real big concerns off the field for his teams that he played for in the NFL. But yeah, Julio Jones, he's right there in the top tier of wide receivers when it's all said and done. And we know how tough it is, you know, when you start getting the Hall of Fame conversation with wide receivers especially. He will definitely be in there, and it'll be a conversation about if he gets in first ballot or not. But congratulations to Julio Jones on a phenomenal career.
What was the platform he announced it on?
Great question.
Something with an S.
Something I'd never heard of.
Never heard.
Squad? Squad, maybe? Is that what it was? Whatever the case. If he's a part owner of that, congrats to him doing it his way, legitimately. Okay, let's pivot away from the NFL. Let's go to the national championship happening tonight. Joining us now, national champion, Duke legend, obviously a host of College Game Day, basketball version, and all over ESPN during basketball season. Ladies and gentlemen, in front of the program, Jay Will.
Yeah.
What's up, boys? What's up, boys? I missed you guys.
Hey, I know you have a big production meeting that's currently happening, and the fact that you're missing it to chit-chat with us, we are grateful for. Big day for college hoops. Let's talk about it. Your Duke Blue Devils had it. And I know Cooper Flag couldn't buy a damn bounce at the end. I mean, his last shot wasn't his best shot, but before that, we're talking about out. We're talking about bank shots out. It felt like the tide turned. The basketball gods blessed Houston, but that's because they're great defense and obviously being on top of it. What are your thoughts on the Houston comeback win, and how do you describe it? Because a lot of people are saying Duke choked it away. I think Houston won it. What are your thoughts on it all, Jay?
My first thoughts are I was on the court before the game and I saw the referees and I tried to hand them something. I was like, hey, maybe I should have offered more.
Oh, jeez.
I should have offered more, PM. That's the first fuck up on my part. But lesson learned. Going next time around. You know what is crazy about it? The one worry, and I'm talking subjectively to you guys because you guys are my boys, right? Like, and obviously I could do the whole objective thing and like break down basketball. We all know that. I was worried about my squad not having real game pressure experience. And like PM, all you guys know this. Like there have been moments in games where we have all gotten tight as hell, like really tight. And if you don't have real game pressure experience throughout the course of the season, all of a sudden to be on this stage with 55,000 people, everybody going wild, to like they didn't throw inbound passes, they tried to place the passes, right? And all those are little things of like a young team with a young finish or lack of experience. And Houston just has dogs, man, that stayed in it, that didn't quit. Cooper's still dope, he's still great. You wish he would have made the shot, that would have immortalized him. I still think he's on some of the greatest players to ever play at Duke, but man, it was just, I was sick. I was with Ken Jong the whole time. We were both sick the whole game watching it.
Ken Jong, obviously massive Duke fan. Coach K was in the building for it all. I saw him walking through the back, and this Duke team was supposed to be unstoppable, and it felt like they were going to be that way. And Kelvin Sampson and the boys, just so much grit, and I can't help but respect the hell out of it. They're taking on a Florida team that might have one of the best college hoopers, the last 10 years of Walter Clayton Jr. This guy makes shots whenever he has to. Took over the game late against Auburn in the Final Four. Does something that hasn't been done since Larry Bird did it. What are your thoughts on this Florida team, and are they going to be able to handle Houston's pressure, Kelvin Sampson's dogness that Houston has?
Look at that leg. Can you see that? This is pretty.
Yeah, he's sick. Yeah.
I said this a couple of days ago with my friends, and once again, you always got to put this caveat because people start running away with things. I'm not saying he is these two players in their pinnacle, because these two players are the best players in the league. His game reminds me of elements of what they have. Think about a marriage on the college version of Steph Curry and Dame, right? There's a shiftiness that he has. He can move. He gets his shot off. And also, he does, we were talking about Steph the other day, he just does shit on the court where you're like, how did you do that? Why did you try that? And he has a lot of that to him. And he's on a Kemba Walker-like run. Better, though. His numbers are better than what Kemba Walker did in 2011, where he took them through the Big East and then obviously to a national championship. And what Houston has to do, PM, is look, anybody can beat you but this dude. This is the one cat. Get the ball out of his hands, blitz him on every ball screen, and Houston has the dogs and the discipline mentality-wise to stay in his pocket. You keep your cash in your pocket, they have to stay in his pocket like that 24, because you can't allow him to get a breath because he just pops off for 10, 15 points out of nowhere. If they can do that and they can have a good offensive game, they have a legit chance to win. But if they can't, Florida's going to walk away with it.
Yeah, and the question about the Duke-Houston game was if the ref is calling it tight, it'll be for Duke. If it's not, it'll go for Houston, which is kind of like the way you talked about it. And then Cooper Flag gets called for the biggest foul of the entire game. Interesting little dynamic there. With that being said, D-Butt has a question about that Houston tactics.
Yeah, we're going to talk, obviously, big matchup to come down to them. But how abnormal, you've been around the college game, forever now. How abnormal is Kelvin Sampson's approach and his practices? We've seen some clips of his practices. We've seen pictures of the team. Damn, they look like a football team. They're mile, how fast they all run the mile. How abnormal is that from what's typical in the college realm?
Damn, D, I don't know if I've been around forever. You make me feel like I'm over here like Benjamin Button, man.
Yeah, we on status right
now. Okay, I'll be OG status. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'll take. You know what it is? In a day and age in which everybody's getting paid, all right, the story he told about Juwan Roberts. I love this shit so much, man. So obviously he's not a good free throw shooter, right? And he told him that last year, every day throughout the summer, we have to make 150 free throws daily. 150. And I don't know if you guys caught it. If you guys got video of the free throws that he made, you're talking about a 55% free throw shooter. I was above that, and I was tight when I went to the free throw line with the way my college career ended. When this dude made the first one, here's a sign of a bad free throw shooter, even at that mark. You make it, you still trying to take a second back, you're nervous. This dude, when he made the first free throw, he told everybody, yo, calm down. Calm down. I'm like, what? Bad free throw shooters don't do that type of shit. They don't tell everybody else to calm down. You're the one telling them, yo, calm down. You got this. He's telling them, and that's how Kelvin Sampson gets these dudes. There's some real life. He talked about being born in the 50s and dealing with racism and real things. There's real life experience and dog that he brings to the table that I'm glad to see has risen to the ultimate platform of the national championship game.
I appreciate their practices, just as football people, watching those videos of how they kind of go about it. There has to be a mental toughness that is built up, and obviously it showed up in the Final Four. Will it show up in the national championship? We shall see. Let's talk about that Duke team a little bit more. Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Jay, well, obviously there's been some fodder around Duke, in the last 10 years with Coach K and John Shire and just not being able to kind of win in the Final Four, and they ranked them against all the other teams that have. But with that being said, do you think with the way Cooper Flag Flag is, the way, his relationship is with John Shire, just kind of the bond that this Duke team seems to have. Do you see a reality where any of those guys come back, or do you think this is a lot of one-and-dones on this team? Or do you think maybe, you know what, Cooper Flag's still going to be the number one pick next year. Washington sucks. Who wants to go there? Maybe we just run it back and hang out and, kind of do this whole thing again and maybe get the job done.
I mean, as much as I wish that was the case, I just can't see it. I mean, first off, any team that's going to be up in the lottery is going to suck.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's how they're in the lottery. And ever since they put in the salary cap, it's hard for me to tell anybody not to come out. Because just economically, right? See, how soon can you get to your next contract? Mm-hmm. Do you get, think for Cooper Flag, think about how many max contracts he can get.
So many.
Right? So if you're getting to your next contract, 3 years, fourth-year team option, he's going to be 22. And if you sign another 4-year contract, you're going to be 26. You sign another max contract, you'll be 30. You'll be in your prime. You could probably sign 4 max contracts. So, I'm trying to start that process as soon as possible. And, if that means I'm in Utah, that means I'm in Washington. We've all seen this before with Eli Manning. You could try to force different things. That's why you have an agent. He has CAA. Shout out to my boy Bino. He probably could do some of the best things they could do with it. And that's what you have to do. I don't see anybody coming back.
Damn. Shout out Bino.
Shout out Bino.
He's the best.
Shout out Bino.
Bino's the best.
Yeah,
he's the best.
We say that too in football. Especially if you're projected to be the number 1 overall. Let's go ahead and do that.
Hell yeah.
Brandon. An NBA question.
Randy Orton coming out right now.
Let's go.
They talk
We got Monday Night Raw tonight, Netflix. All right. Tone has a question for you about the NBA before we get out of here. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Jay Will, when you were on last week.
What up, T?
What up? When you were on last week, we talked about the Lakers' demise because Luka went 0 for 6 and he can't play defense. Well, guess what? They just blew out OKC. So is OKC dead? Are the Lakers going to win a championship? Now, what realistically, because a lot of people were talking about OKC and the Cavs because they were the best number 1 seeds in both, but now they're kind of, after that loss to the Lakers and the Cavs, I believe, are 6-6 in the last 12. Are you worried about those teams at all, or is that just one loss?
No, man. I mean, it's the same thing I said the other day with the Lakers, right? I was like, yo, man, Luka, obviously, I know who he is defensively. I just said, look, if he's going to be marginal defensively, he has to be prolific offensively to give him the best chance to win, right? Most people are like, oh, you're jumping off the bandwagon. I'm like, come on, man. We just talking real basketball here. The dude was prolific the other night. The dude had 22 points in the first half. And I highly doubt OKC is going to keep switching. Poor Hartenstein. Remember that moment I told you guys about the other day when I was guarding White Chocolate? I was like, that's the real Jason Williams. He had so many possessions defensively like that shit where he was just on the island by himself. But this is who the Lakers are when they make shots. They shot 63% in the first half. They're killers. Now, I don't think they're going to shoot 63%, for the whole game from the field if they were going against OKC. And also, guys, OKC's kind of in cruise control a little bit here. They got number 1 seat locked up. They're not stressing. But still, this shows you the ceiling for the Lakers. So I'm not concerned about OKC, but I like seeing Luka play this way offensively down the stretch going into the playoffs.
Thank you, Jay Will. Pat froze, so we got to get him back, but we're coming up on a hard out. We appreciate you, man.
Hell yeah, Jay Will.
Thank you, Jay.
Always, brother.
See you guys. We will be back in 3. Come on back.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Pat McAfee. Used to hold balls for Adam Vinatieri. Now I'm in his home state. College game day is absolutely electric. And Brookings Show to Let's go!
College game day has made the voyage to Brookings, South Dakota to experience a game with the best fans in college football. I unfortunately cannot attend because I have a game this Sunday, so I sent a man I trust to make my picks. A man who was my holder for almost a decade. Please be nice to him. Welcome this week's celebrity guest picker, Pat McAfee.
Go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Hosting Auburn
Yes, everybody saw this. The best fake punt in the world. What do you think, Pat?
I absolutely loved it all the way up until execution time. That is not what we like to show in the brand headquarters and punting and kicking world.
Oh, dance off. Oh, let's get weird. Yes. Duck that, huh?
Bang! Right off the top of the dome. That makes it a lot easier when you got a dummy standing right in front of you like that.
Running. He's Haydukin! Daniel Russo!
Wax on! Wax off! Knee to the face!
Yes! Serious.
Go! Yes!
These teams stink. With that 15, they celebrate by doing shotguns. And I'm a big fan of that. I'm going with the University of Virginia Cavaliers. That was great. Whoa! I will never, ever in the history of my life cut against that ball. Oklahoma State is a win here. Not so fast again.
But I'm going with Trey.
Please excuse my dumb friend Kirk. You look at this crowd, they've been out here since 4 a.m. College game day comes to town, they lose their mind. The population of this state is about 800,000, and when the Jackrabbits take the field, they're alongside all 800,000 South Dakotans. The Dakota marker was in Fargo for far too long. Today, 5 o'clock local time, the Dakota marker is back in beautiful Brookings, South Dakota. Terry School. They might be the Jackrabbits, but they're the GOATs today, ladies and gentlemen. South Dakota State with the win.
Give me that place in.
No, don't do that. No. Leave. Coast.
The following program is a collection of stooges talking about happenings in the sports world. It is meant to be comedic informative. The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of their peers, their boss, or ESPN. There may be some cuss words because that's how humans in the real world talk. If you are young, please seek permission before watching any further.
Hey,
Why?
let's go.
This show stinks, and the fact that you listen, we are very, very thankful for.
McAfee on the line with a gorgeous assist.
The all-time leading tackler for the Green Bay Packers.
You pink.
Damn it!
Be a friend, tell a friend something nice could change their life.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to our humble little program on this National Championship Monday, April 7th, 2025. Hour 2 of the program starts now.
Sports
are happening in a massive way, and we're so lucky that we get to talk about them mostly every single day. We'll be off the rest of the week after today. Obviously, the Masters Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, big night. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, TikTok Live, and X. Re-air on Hulu with behind-the-scenes footage on Thursday, April 10th. And then obviously tonight, the national championship between Houston and Florida is going to be exhilarating and magical as somebody tries to chase a shining moment. Kelvin Sampson, an absolute dog with a team that is gritty, and it came back from 6 with less than a minute left in the Final Four against Duke, taking on Todd Golden and the Florida Gators, and Walter Clayton Jr., who is, he's a mix of Steph Curry and Tyrese Halliburton and Luka Doncic and everything good, basically, in this basketball world. We'll talk to Seth Greenberg here in a matter of moments to chit-chat about tonight even more after our convo with Jay Will. He looks super cool. Obviously, he was heartbroken because of what happened with Duke. And then we'll talk to Mark Messier at the tail end of this particular hour to chit-chat about the grade 8's chase and inevitably catching of Wayne Gretzky's goal-scoring record that nobody thought would be broken this past weekend in New York on Long Island. It's a beautiful time in sport. The Talks Table is here at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt. Boys, how you doing? Start with you, Con Man. Sweet shirt today, pal.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a Red Sox shirt. Everyone here knows, I'm in it for all 162. I've been a baseball guy since day one. I love baseball, but I am all in on the Red Sox. Last night, Sunday Night Baseball, Ty mentioned the walk-off in the first game of the doubleheader. The second game, the Red Sox scored 18 runs. I don't know. Is that entertaining? Yeah, it is. Not to mention they had a pitcher get called up, Hunter Dobbins, in his first ever major league start. And, the camera kept cutting to his parents. His mother and dad were in the crowd. She was crying after his first career strikeout. It was just a full spectacle of baseball. But, yeah, I'm a baseball guy now. This is me. This is the life I live. I'm going to start carrying around a bat and a glove and, just probably have a bunch of catches with all the boys who love baseball just like me.
So Sunday Night Baseball was a good watch last night, you're saying?
Yeah, it was great. Ravi and the lads crushed it in the booth, and they are still doing the cool, mic up the outfielder while he's out there. They actually had the guy mic'd up during one of the Red Sox massive innings, so it lasted like a half hour. This guy was in the field talking. He actually turned out he got 2 or 3 grounders to right field, a couple singles that he had to rally while being mic'd up. Devers is coming alive, and Bregman, the guy who came over from the Houston Astros, and may I add there, I can't confirm Bregman was not part of the cheating that went on in Houston. He never did anything.
No garbage cans.
No, he didn't do any of the garbage cans. The boys asked him, hey, do you want the garbage cans? He said, no, I'm an honorable man. I play baseball the right way. He's still great. He hit a moonshot to center field, actually huge for the people who bet on him to hit a home run, which some of us did. So Sox are back.
Okay.
Hopefully the Yankees in the Sox, that rivalry heats up. Going to need Jaron Duran to use his frugal language a couple times at the Yankees, perhaps, and also going to need maybe a couple guys to get beamed in the head. Judge, I'm putting the hit out on Judge. We're going to need that to happen. I don't care.
Middle finger fastballs at Aaron Judge's head.
Yeah, middle of the back. Yeah, sure. Head, calf. Let's get this guy where it hurts. Jazz Chisholm, hope you're wearing knee guards, buddy, because you're getting a fastball to the kneecap. Because Yankees,
the patella pitch, you're saying you want this to get a little heated, huh?
Yeah, we need it.
Scumbag.
It'd be the best thing for baseball. I think everybody would agree. Yankees Red Sox is one of the best rivalries in sports, baseball especially. So if they were to get maybe a Pedro Martinez DZ situation where the oldest, fattest man in the Yankees dugout runs out in a benches clearing brawl, we can have Rafael Devers, who's just DHing now, maybe hit him with some sweet chin music, maybe a uppercut to the gut of one of these fatzos that works for the Yankees. It feels like that rivalry can kind of be back.
Early in the season for all that to happen would be pretty wild if that's how they treated Game 11 of a 162-game season. Ty, baseball is doing it, and I think it's good for our program. I got a text from Michael Cole just a few moments ago. You guys really talking baseball. Ty, you've been wanting this for a long time. I don't know how long it'll last, but it feels like we are a little bit of a baseball program right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, especially right now, I don't know, maybe it's just recency bias because it's going on right now, but it seems like stuff in the football world has kind of slowed to a stop. Maybe it's because free agency wrapped up so quick, and this year with the draft, it seems like outside of Shedeur Sanders, there aren't as many question marks in the past. So in years past, when the baseball season starts, we may mention it, but it just whimpers away because then we have so much to talk about with football and everything. There are still guys out there. But like you said, when the stars are actually performing, and for the most part, guys like Shohei and Judge and Soto, guys like that are always going to perform. But what really helped baseball this year was the torpedo bat stuff in the early running, because I don't want to say it kind of took over the sports world over opening weekend, but we talked about it a bunch that following Monday. Everyone was kind of talking about it, wow, look at this, offensive outburst that all these teams are having, where we'd kind of been talking about in the past. One of the issues with baseball is you're going to get the big time home runs from a lot of these teams, but like pitchers were just dominating. Guys strike out so much, and then boom, first weekend of the year, we got, like the Yankees hit 9 homers on the second day of the season. We got all these other teams that are scoring a bunch of runs. Like big time players are moving cities. I mean, the second weekend we have here, we have 5 walk-off wins. Like Paul Skeens with the Pirates and some of these other small market teams. Like there are stars everywhere, and it's one of those things where if there's really, like there's still good basketball games on right now, obviously, as like the playoffs get closer. But if you're in the middle of the week and there really is nothing else to watch, and you want to watch sports and you don't want to watch one of these bullshit TV shows that like are on basic cable that some people just can't get excited about. Like there are baseball games every single day, and we've been lucky enough now through the first week and a half, 2 weeks of the season where like at least 1 or 2 awesome things has happened every single day in baseball. So I do hope we keep talking about it. Now, granted, the Pirates need to keep winning because I think that will kind of fuel your interest a little bit more, which certainly will help. But again, it's tough. Like you mentioned it. Like yesterday, Pirates Yankees. I think there were like 21,000 people there. It looked so fucking cold. It was like 32 degrees. Everyone's wearing like sweatshirts. It's like so. Yeah, Paul Skeens is going to go out and pitch. Like he's going to be absolutely miserable out there. So like, as long as we can kind of he will be, man. It's ridiculous. It sucks playing baseball when it's that cold. It just absolutely.
No, it's going to suck. It's going to suck to have to try to swing a bat at Paul Skeens' pitch at 38 degrees. I have no good authority after just looking at and talking to Paul Skeens. He's going to say it's 38 degrees for everybody. Now, if that's 99, 100 degrees, is it easier to get a little loose, stay loose, kind of let the arm do its thing? Certainly. Paul Skeens was built for it, which is why he wants to take the Pittsburgh Pirates to a World Series. He said it, not me. Yep. He said it, not me, okay? He said wild card, not enough. But it does appear, to Connor's point, it does appear some of these teams certainly a little on back end, a little bit more than maybe the Pittsburgh Pirates. Have you seen all the clips that came out of the Pittsburgh Pirates opening day? You're talking about the ownership walking through the stadium saying, you know what, I want to come, I want to be a common man, I want to go walk out there. And as soon as anybody recognized his face, which is very recognizable, a sell the team chant started. And then there was awesome. A Paul Skeens New York Yankees jersey, which everybody in Pittsburgh was like, yeah, that's kind of what is probably going to happen here in a couple of years. So I think we all kind of understand, but I do appreciate the fact that you understand that the reason why I'm talking about it specifically is because Pittsburgh Pirates are in a part of a convo with Paul Skeens, the next great one. So I can't wait to continue to talk baseball, especially if baseball continues to show up. But this week is different than any other week. This is Masters week. Let's go to one half of the Hammer. Dahn. Cowboys, AP Tone. Masters is obviously something different. It's special whenever they go down to Augusta. It's so beautiful. It's so competitive. It's a nice weekend of listening to the birds chirp, Jim Nance do his thing, and all the golfers from all the different brands of golf competing. That's the big storyline here, right, Tone?
Yeah, it is. And you talked about the birds chirping and the azaleas are blooming, and we'll go down Azalea Lane and Magnolia Lane, and we'll tee off Thursday morning with Tom Watson, Gary Player, and Jack Nicklaus. Those will be the honorary starters on Thursday. And you see the odds-on favorites to win the tournament: Scotty, Rory, Morikawa, Oberg, Schauffele, JT. Yep. And there's the other ones: Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm. The live guys will be here. All of the greatest golfers in the world are playing starting Thursday on ESPN. Yes, it's time to download your Masters app so you can watch that on Thursday morning. And I just looked. John Rahm, we've been talking in the office like, is John Rahm playing golf? We weren't sure.
Yes.
Okay? What do you mean, yes?
Yes, he's playing golf.
I looked his results.
Miami.
His results, he has not finished worse than 9th in live this year in 5 events. I don't know how many guys play. I don't know if it's 10 to 15 to 20, but he has not finished lower than 9th so I'm pumped to see Rahm out there.
Well, I think he was 10th once, and then they did a super cool coin flip on the 18th green, and he ended up in 9th, I think. There was a lot of people talking. You don't think so? Okay. There's a lot of people talking about Live this weekend, by the way. It was on Fox, I think, 1 p.m. Eastern. They had the entire thing. I think some people watched it. I think some people saw it. And then obviously it was a stacked leaderboard. And you said John Rahm a little bit hot in this Live golf season, seemingly, is what you're kind of alluding to here?
Yeah, I looked it up. So this year he has finished 2nd, 6th, 6th, 5th, and 9th. Hasn't won an event, but, top 5, top 10 in every single event. So I assume he's coming in hot. Bryson's been like top 15 in all the events. Once again, I don't know if that's good or not on the Live Tour. I assume it is. is. Waiting for someone to correct me if it's not. Obviously, Patrick Reed always plays well in the Masters. Joaquin Neiman's coming over. Like all the big dogs are going to be there. That's all we've ever wanted. All we want every week is be able to watch the greatest golfers in the world compete against each other. And for the first time this year, we're going to be able to this week.
Hell yeah.
9-year NFL vet and live superfan, Darius J. Butler, obviously in the Thunderdome. D-Butch, you can wrap up the live convo with the boys and how they're going to do at the Masters, but also you should pivot to college hoops. Obviously, UConn, something special. I don't know if we've ever paid enough attention to the women's college basketball season, men's college basketball season, or the women's college basketball season, but I always expect UConn to be great. Then they weren't there for a little bit. You guys are back on top. What a storyline. Is this all because Paige Buckets is an absolute dog? Is it because Auriemma is all the way back in his bag? Here's a stat Hembo sent over to me about this UConn team and Gino Auriemma. 20-point wins in national title games. Okay? John Wooden has 3. Gino has 5.
Damn.
No other D1 coach has done it more than one time. So when you're talking about just dominating, whenever you get to the end of the road, whenever you beat the hell out of everybody and you have your last opponent, this is the one that's supposed to be your biggest challenge. This is the one who has earned their way to the championship. This is the one who's also been dominant all year. This UConn ladies team just did what we've seen them do in the past and just beat ass. What are your thoughts on that, D-Butch? And are you guys all the way back, or is it over now because Paige is leaving?
No, I think as long as Gino is there, we'll be all right. And look, in the early parts of the dynasty, we got, a lot of people say, hey, they just got the best players year in and year out. The thing about women's college basketball is those best players are going to stay there for 4 years. But over time, the Tennessees, the LSUs, the South Carolinas, Notre Dame, Stanfords, all these different programs have grown, got top-tier talent in it. But what Gino has done from the top, Gino and CD, like I said, their first championships was 1995, and all of the greats over all those years, whether it's Rebecca Lobo, Barbara Turner, Taurasi, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, Bree Stewart, who won 4 natties in a row. Like, this was huge for Paige. We know she's been through injury-wise, and I saw on the internet, I'm sure everybody's seen it at this point, that class that came out with Paige, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Cardosa, I believe Cameron Brink, they all, pretty much all either played the national title or won a national title. So this was huge for her. I think Taurasi, when they was on the show and they put, 3-time Big East Player of the Year, 3-time, first team All-American, and the last thing was 2025 national champ. And Taurasi was like, that's the only thing that matters. So that is the standard for UConn, and everything Gino does with that program, is especially starting with the best player. The best player is always, the hardest worker. The best players are always leading. They're always the tip of the spear, whether it's practice, whether it's playing, running off the court to the bench, running into the tunnel, not over-dribbling, a bunch of passing, playing great team basketball on both ends of the court. So just impressive. 12-1 in national championship games as a program, men's and women's, 18-1 overall. So once we get there, we're going to get the job done. Once again, just showing why we are the basketball capital world up there in Storrs, Connecticut. So congratulations to the ladies once again.
Yeah, I saw Coach Hurley talking his shit too.
Yeah.
I saw that. I obviously UConn celebrating this is a magical thing. Congrats to the ladies winning, and can't wait to see what Hurley does with the squad next year. Who will be the men's national champions? We'll find that out tonight as Houston and Florida play. Joining us now is a former college football national champion, a Super Bowl champion, a Ryder Cup winner. Ladies and gentlemen, AJ Hawk.
Hey.
What's up, Hawker? How you doing,
what's
bub?
going on? I'm doing great. Hey, it was 82-59 in the national championship. I'd say that's pretty damn good for Gino and the girls. So, yeah, congrats to your squad, D-Bud. That's impressive.
Appreciate you, AJ.
5 of those 12, he's won by 20 or more points in the national championship, which is pretty dominating. And I saw some people on the internet saying, pretty crazy that Iowa was even in this conversation for a few years there. Yep, I agree. And I like to see... What's that?
Well, I don't know if you remember last year, though, Pat. Gino actually couldn't get it done against the Hawkeyes. So,
that's what I'm saying.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So.
Because there's a dominating force.
Ever get
there's a couple.
No, but, and what we're not talking about either is Gino, whether this is true, whether it's been confirmed, that guy's absolutely cheated. No question about it. No question about it. You
can't say that.
Yeah,
hey, listen,
that's not true.
I'm just saying, you don't win that many national championships by 20-plus points without, bending the rules or cheating a little bit here or there. So listen.
You're saying this guy's too good. This guy's too good at what he does, is what you're saying, Ty?
That's kind of what I'm saying. Exactly. So, again, I'm going to give him his flowers today. Hey, that's an unbelievable
didn't sound
team.
like it.
Well,
didn't sound like it at all.
Unbelievable.
I'm just saying, and that's not something we need to, look for today. We don't need to, dig into his past and his recruiting or anything. We don't need to do that today. History will do that down the line. So you're right. Hats off to Paige Buckets. I'm glad she's kind of finally got that notch in her belt because she needed that.
Gino wasn't able to get Caitlin Clark, huh? Wasn't able to land Caitlin Clark as a recruit in Iowa being a part of it while Caitlin was on her run. After what we're watching now with, Malky, I guess she had quite a performance. There's a lot of things being said there.
Yeah.
A lot of people talking about that. Dawn Staley, obviously very animated during the championship, but she had her team back in the national championship yet again. Gino has kind of done his thing. There is like levels, it feels like, to the women's college hoops, and UConn obviously at the very top has been for a long time. AJ, as you look forward to tonight, you're a guy that was able to win a national championship, obviously. You were young, but you were certainly able to show up in a big moment. The defensive dominating team feels like they have quite an advantage in a national championship because anytime your nerves are making you tighter or whatever, you can always give effort. You can always give like maximum effort. It normally shows up on the offensive side. I'm not saying that Walter Clayton Jr. hasn't had a lot of pressure and isn't prepared for the moment, but I'm saying national championship, biggest moment of your life, defense seems to travel a little bit more, and this Houston team has that in spades. Not that Florida doesn't, but it's like the Houston culture, basically, AJ.
Yeah, think about it. You don't have to count on, like, if you're great, let's say you're counting on the three ball, like that's what your team has counted on all year. You don't have to worry about, hey, are we gonna have an off night, or is a defense gonna force us into an off night? Like coaches, the old cliche, you can only control your attitude and your effort, and I feel like that's kind of what defense is when you talk about basketball. And I mean, like I've told you before, I grew up a Duke fan. I wanted Duke to win this game, but man, like I have a hard time not having a ton of respect for this Houston team and Kelvin Sampson. Obviously, with all the stories, and you see the clips of how he has built this whole thing since 2016. Like it's pretty awesome what Houston's been doing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And culture, I heard him give a press conference about all of his assistants have basically been within his program forever. He doesn't hire outside. He keeps all the guys within. He said there's only like one word that they have around the building, and it's just culture. That's it. Just culture. The word culture is out there. And it's like that stays for what it is. How you do anything is how you do everything. Feels like he's old school guy, and everybody that coaches with him old school, everybody that's manager for him old school, and his team plays that way. You got to find the right players. Joining us now is a guy who coached college basketball for a long time, 100 years we'll say. Mm-hmm. Now he's on College Game Day, friend of the program, and he is basically the face of college basketball coverage throughout the entirety of this tournament on ESPN because of how he's gotten it right. He loved this Florida team from the very beginning. We can't wait to hear what his thoughts are about tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Seth Greenberg.
Yeah. Oh. What's up, boys? What's up? What's going on? We got a big game here today, I think. A little game, little hoops going on today.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a throwdown, if you will, on a basketball court happening this evening. This Florida team, you've talked about them since immediately upon the bracket being announced. And we didn't follow the college basketball season as a whole, but whenever we heard the SEC drama and how many teams are getting in and obviously the bubble madness and the conference championship stuff, we tried to pick up all the information we could as quickly as possible. You came on our show and were like, Florida's the team. And as we watched them go through this, March Madness run that they're on, that guy right there has been so much fun. Oof. Walter Clayton Jr., you talked about him from the beginning. He shows up in big moments. He seemingly leads the team in a great way. They got athletes all over the court, and they're dogs. I assume that's why you liked them. Taking on this Houston team, are they a good fit for Houston? Do you think it's a good matchup for Houston? What are your thoughts on your Florida team? And I'm saying yours because you've loved them since the beginning. Taking on this Kelvin Sampson-style team. What is the matchup that needs to be kind of watched?
Oh, look, when you play against Houston, you got to take care of the basketball. You got to rebound the ball. Now, people don't understand. Like, this Florida team is an elite defensive team, and they are actually even a better offensive rebounding team than Houston. So that's going to be interesting. Who's going to win the war on the boards? Can Florida get to the offensive glass and get extra possessions against the best rebounding team people think in college basketball? So that's one. And then the battle of the backcourts. You saw what happened against Duke. 10 threes made in that game. If Houston makes 10 threes, Florida's not winning. You've got to run them off the three-point line because they just don't have a lot of other ways to score. Juwan Roberts can get some putbacks. He can finish around the basket. But what those guys really do is offensive rebound, kick it out for open threes. So I still like this Florida team. Obviously, Clayton's been just phenomenal. He's a former football player, and I always talk to my teams about next play mentality. That's what that dude has. He's got a next play mentality. Get back that huddle. Let's talk it over. Let's come back out, get to the next play, and make a play. And that's kind of how he plays in the biggest moments. The dude has no fear. Kelvin Sampson's going to take the ball out of his hands, or he's going to try. I think it's going to be hard to do that.
Yeah, and you talk about no fear and former football player and next play mentality. He took over down the stretch against Auburn. I assume he's done that in a lot of games. He goes back-to-back 30-point performances this late into the tournament. First time since Larry Bird. Special player, fun to watch. AJ has a question for you.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned this Houston team's going to try to keep the ball out of Clayton's hands. That's like we hear about in football. Like Bill Belichick always does a great job of taking away your number one option when it say make you play left-handed or whatever. How is Houston, like what should we watch tonight when we see this Houston defense? How are they going to attack him, and are you able to find a way to kind of slow Clayton down?
I think the first thing you got to do is you got to make him guard. I mean, you got to go out and make him guard. I think one of the best ways to defend someone is make him guard. So what does that mean? Screen the hell out of him, put him in ball screens, attack him. And, one thing about these Houston guards, they can beat you off the dribble. It'd be interesting to see how Todd Golden matches up. Does he match him up on Cryer? Well, Cryer's more of a jump shooter. Or does he match him up on Sharp? Because Sharp will take it down the lane. If you start the end of the Duke game, Sharp took on Cooper Flagg and took him right to the front of the rim. So I think the first thing you got to do is make him guard. The second thing you got to do is you got to meet him in transition. Like you've got to get good shot selection so you're balanced defensively. So your point of pick has got to be a little bit higher. You got to get the ball under control. And then any dribble, handoff, or any ball screen, you're going to blitz the crap out of him. I mean, you're going to blitz the crap out of him, and then you're going to what I call topside, not let him get the ball back. Like you're going to extend catches out. So the further he catches it from the ball, now you can build your defense behind that. So I think those are things. Make him guard, screen the hell out of him. Anytime he comes up in transition, meet the ball early, but any ball screen or any dribble handoff, boom, you got to trap him, get it out of his hands, and then extend that next catch. You got to wear him out trying to get open.
Coach, I don't know if you know this, but you might be a sharp. When you came on the show the last time, you said, I like this, I like this, I like this. AP Tone, what's the over-under for tonight's national championship for these boys?
The over-under tonight is, let's see if it moved, 140.5.
140.5. 71-70 is the score that would obviously beat that. So in your mind, that's kind of how I look at it, at least whenever we're trying to pick that. Yep. Are they going to be tight here? What do you think? That 70 points a lot for this college basketball season? It's like some games yes, some games no. I genuinely don't know. Yeah. What are your thoughts on a national championship with these two squads?
I think it's over. I think it's over. And I'll tell you what, people don't understand the force and the pace that Florida plays with. Florida brings it at you so fast, so they don't give you a chance to set, and they kind of flatten the defense out a little bit. If you watch again the other day, how many times did Clayton just come down, navigate in transition, and get to the front of the rim against a good Auburn team? So the pace that they're going to play with, I think there's going to be more possessions in this game than people think. So my gut feeling is this thing's going to be over. Even though they're two elite defensive teams, I think both teams are going to be forced to play and make plays. And I also think that the three-point shot's going to have an impact in it. You talk about a Florida team, they get over at 64% of their points from the perimeter. A lot of those points are obviously threes. To me, the number of guys that can make shots on the perimeter of both of these teams, whether it's Cryer, whether it's Sharp, on the other side, obviously you don't just have Walter Clayton Jr. You have Elijah Martin who can knock down shots. Will Richards didn't make a three the other day. The dude's going to make threes. I mean, that's just the way it is. And then Milo Uzan, he didn't really play well against Duke. He's going to score. So these backcourts are too dynamic to have on the under, in my opinion. I think the backcourts are just a little bit better than people think offensively. I think we're going to see a significant number of threes. That's why I would go with the over. But I would say the first 4 minutes of the game, I would say that Houston has the advantage. And you guys know in football, I don't know how you compare it. What's a team that kind of punches you in the face early and it takes time to settle in against them? And then once you settle in, you kind of have a better feel, but you can't simulate that in your practices. Mm-hmm. That's what this Houston team is in terms of especially a quick turnaround where you got 36 hours to kind of get ready for this rock fight. I think that's going to be an interesting first 4 minutes. I like Houston.
First 5, last 5 is what we chat about, and that's whenever you find out if what you thought you had on film is reality. And you talk about that Houston team, they seemingly are relentless by design. AP Tone has a question for you, Coach.
Yeah, I do, Coach. I saw a tweet or a post from their director of sports performance, Alan Bishop. Their average mile time was 5 minutes and 19 seconds, and as you could see from this picture, every single dude on their team has a 12-pack, is absolutely jacked. Like, what does that do for a team?
That looks like a football team, right? AJ. That looks like a football team in there.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, they come back with the late performance yesterday. Like, they obviously just don't run out of gas late, I assume. And how big is that for them?
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean, just look, that's their identity. That's their mentality. That's Kelvin's mentality. You got to understand, Kelvin's an underdog himself. I mean, he was a graduate assistant to Judd Heathcote at Washington, at Michigan State. He went from Montana Tech to Washington State. I mean, that guy his journey's been unbelievable. 2 coaches with 2 very different journeys. But the one thing that's always been consistent with Kelvin, the physicality is of his team. And he challenges them mentally, emotionally, physically, and he gets incredible buy-in. Like, those guys think they're the baddest asses on the floor. All right? I mean, they practice. They practice with a rebound bubble. So I want to put this in perspective. So they practice with a bubble on the rim. Now, Pat, when you have a bubble on the rim, you can never make a shot. All right? So every shot is a miss. So when the ball comes off, it's absolutely the funniest thing to watch because you got just bodies flying all over the place. You know, in the old days, Tom Izzo talked about practicing in shoulder pads. Like, their whole practice, there's right and wrong. There's no in between. Almost right is wrong. Like, Kelvin Sampson coaches those guys. He is not afraid of anything, nor are they. You're watching this video. That is a typical practice. This isn't made for TV. All right? This is like real. Like, if you don't hit the floor, you have a problem. Jeez. And Kelvin, he might be a little older, but he can get as nasty as anyone. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
He can get right up here.
You get in the drill?
I assume that's the case. I watch him. Yeah, is he getting the ball? Is he chewing him out? Probably. I watched him do a press conference after the Final Four, and he talked about how we don't have a bunch of cliche sayings. All his assistant coaches have come up through his program, and he says there's only one word that's out there, and it's culture. And it's like basically everybody understands what it is. You see that weight room photo? I mean, look at him coming in dancing. That's an awesome moment with his team. I assume that feels immaculate, especially smacking your team into the national championship. Good for Houston, especially down there in Texas, San Antonio. But whenever you see this team and you hear everything about it and you watch that practice, it's like, that's a brotherhood. You know, Duke talked about a brotherhood, not that it is, but that's how you kind of build the bond. That's how you build the chemistry. If you sweat together, bleed together, I assume, as they're diving on the board, and work out together, that's where you really build it. I'm pulling for them. I like this Houston team. Not that I don't like the Florida team, but I like the way they're built. D-Bud has a question for you, Coach.
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask you about these coaching matchups. We're obviously talking about Kelvin Sampson, been around the game for a long, long time, 69 years old. And on the other side, you got Coach Todd Golden, 39 years old. Both very tough teams, but a big age gap. Who do you I know you've been high on Florida since the beginning, but who do you kind of trust more coaching side? We always talk about nerves from the players, but what about the coaches in this matchup? Who are you leaning to in that matchup?
Yeah, that's a tough one because, like, Kelvin Sampson, like, think about a minute 14 to go, they're down 6 points. He didn't foul. He trusted his culture. He said, we're going to get a stop. Technical foul was made. They're down 6. Tugler gets a block. They come down, knock down a 3. I mean, Kelvin orchestrated, and he's going to manipulate matchups. That's why I talk about going at Clayton. Todd Golden, and I know him pretty well, he's got some swag to him. Like that dude, he can really coach. I mean, like, really coach, but he's like the next generation. Like, he's got a standard. There's an accountability. His practices are brutal, very similar, not as physical, but that dude is cutting edge. In fact, I talked to a guy that he worked for when he was an assistant at Columbia, and he had to bring him into the office, and Todd Golden's a real analytics guy. So and his former coach Kyle Smith, who was the head coach at Stanford now, he said when he was first at Columbia, he came to the office one day and said, if you guys worked as hard at working guys out as you did with your fantasy baseball lineups and figuring out all the numbers, said we'd have a better damn team. He was in analytics way back then, like working on his fantasy baseball team. So, like, he's cutting edge when it comes to analytics. He sees the game through an interesting prism. He totally changed the system, playing for Randy Bennett, who's kind of a coach that really controls, plays tempo. Kyle Smith's been a little bit more progressive. This dude went from playing that, but having a little bit of a swag and a little difference to him, to basically playing like old school Arizona. 3 guards that play fast, they play with freedom, they attack you, and those 2 bigs that protect the rim are screeners and rim rollers. So Kelvin's got more experience. This guy on the left of my screen, probably the right of your guy's screen, he don't fear anything. Like, he don't fear, he's got something in him.
I also like that he turns to the crowd and does this number. Yeah. He is a hey, let's make some noise, boys. Todd Golden. Yeah, it is LaFleur-like. And, I was introduced to him during the tournament. I'm like, wow, that's a child there. Okay, so he's 39 years old. He must lotion. He does well. He must be a moisturizer. Uh-huh. He looks very, very good.
Arizona guys from Arizona, moisturizer.
A lot of vitamin D. Yeah, it makes sense. Haven't seen the sun in a while. Okay, 4 ones make their way to the Final Four. Obviously, that was kind of the discussion of this particular tournament, which leads to Conman has a question for you, Coach.
Yeah, Seth, early everyone's pissed off. No Cinderellas. It's all chalk. This is the worst March Madness. But now it feels like, especially, last weekend and this weekend, that these games have just been unbelievable. Do you feel like, because it has been all chalk, that this has turned into one of the most competitive, best March Madnesses that we've had yet? Or do you think people are always going to, bitch and moan about something when it comes to sports?
People are going to bitch and moan about something, but look, to me, this is good on good, man. I mean, like, you work your way to the Super Bowl, you want the 2 best teams. If you look at these teams' body of work during the course of the year, what do you say? They separate themselves. I want to see the best dudes play against the best dudes on the biggest stage. Plain and simple. And, that's fine. We can get some upsets in the first and second round. That's great. In the end, I want to see good on good. Like, when we practiced, I didn't practice against the gold team, that bunch of walk-ins. No, I wanted my goods against the other goods to find out just how good we were. This is the future of college basketball. If you look at the rosters, there's not a freshman playing in this game. There's not a freshman playing in this game. You got 13 of the 16 guys that play are retained, which means they stayed in school at the same school. Now think about that. Stayed at school, but stayed at the same school, right? These teams are invested. I'm all into the good on good. I'm all into guys having shared experiences, but I'm also into let's put the 2 best teams that have earned their way in, and let's throw that thing up and let's get after it.
We always want to find out who the absolute best is in any tournament, and it feels like we got everybody's best team Duke the hell out. Everybody's talking about this Duke team being untouchable, seemingly. And now they're gone, which I liked Shire coming on the show. I liked the Duke team. I enjoyed watching them. But that Houston win, everybody's saying Duke choked away. It's like Houston also was prepared for the moment in a big way. Can't wait to see what they do against Florida tonight. Can't wait to watch game day. What time are you guys on?
We're on at, what are we on, 5 o'clock here, so 6 o'clock back there. I think that's what it is. I think that's right. I don't know. They're going to pick me up at 3:50. I don't know. I just show up. I mean, the light goes on, I talk, and then they send me on my way. Hey, Pat, by the way, your deal to London and back, I have to admit, you talk about a beast, dude. You're a beast. Like, you could play for me.
All right. Thank you.
I never coached the kicker. But if I had a kicker on my team, you'd have no problem playing for me because, like, you understand the grind.
Hey, and I will smack the wood, and anything you need from me. 3 and D, you got it. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll watch him at 6 o'clock Eastern, we think, on College Game Day for the National Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Seth Greenberg.
Yeah, Coach.
They put me in a car, they drive me over there, they turn the camera on, and they let me know when I need to speak. Okay? That's what I do. Just says Coach Seth Greenberg. College basketball season's wrapping up tonight, AJ. But that is not, in my eyes, the most legendary thing that's going to happen over the last few days. Alexander Ovechkin breaking that record on Long Island with how that building erupted for him. Islanders fans were in there. They knew they were a part of history. Capitals fans were in there, obviously, chasing alongside Ovi's great chase of the great one. And it's like they're down 2-1 at that moment, and the entire team understands the assignment. The entire league, there's Gary Bettman, the commish, obviously Waino. I believe the FBI is represented up there as well. It was a moment, I think. I don't know enough about it, but so. I think that is who,
you are
who
correct.
That was.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. It was a magical moment, and it happened, Nick, in the exact same amount of games that it took Wayne Gretzky to have the previous record. Feels like the hockey gods were written all over this one. Great for hockey, great for the sport, great for sports as a whole, Nick. Honestly, it felt magical as I was watching from afar, and I couldn't even imagine what the building was like inside, Nick.
Absolutely absurd, Pat. A bit serendipitous, as you mentioned, in the amount of games played. Also happened to be the same day 20 years prior in which the Capitals won the draft lottery and earned the right to select Alex Ovechkin number 1 overall when they didn't finish the season with the worst record in the league. I believe they were second or third. The team that finished first in terms of finishing last for the lottery odds was actually the Pittsburgh Penguins. So a bit of fate, how it could have been reversed there. You could have seen Ovechkin as a Penguin, and maybe you saw Sidney Crosby as a Washington Capital the following season. But here we are. Ovechkin shaking Waino's hand. He's the greatest goal scorer of all time, not just of this generation. You can put that debate to rest. There's still a GOAT debate in hockey that I don't think will ever be settled because we get into it all the time with basketball in terms of the eras. But you've got Waino, you've got Mario Lemieux, you've got Bobby Orr, and you've got Gordie Howe. Those are the 4 mainstays of the older generation. Now you've got Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, probably Nick Lidstrom, and whoever else can earn their way into that 4th spot for the new era. So it's a great day for hockey. It was an awesome celebration yesterday, and it's been really cool to watch the sport come together to watch Ovi on this chase.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it all, and I also like the fact that he goes and cracks open a cold beer immediately afterwards, AJ. You know, whenever he tied Waino, there was a video of him just going right to his locker and just cracking open a beer. And everybody's like, enjoy cold beer after you do something great, which is why we like hockey. Hockey's like an old school feel, old school vibes. And Alexander Ovechkin represents all of that perfectly. He doesn't have an 8-pack. He's going to have a good time. Here's a beer, sir. Here you go. Yep, welcome. Here's another beer for you to enjoy yourself. When he won Lordo for the first time, we watched him with the Stanley Cup literally across state lines, just having a blast. The guy is committed to his sport. He loves his sport. And I think everybody in hockey believes that he represents it very, very well, AJ. It's a beautiful thing. And you look at all the records. You know, you look at everything, 149 game opening goals, which is an NHL record. Okay, game tying goals, NHL record. Go-ahead goals, NHL record. Game winning goals, NHL record. 30-goal season, NHL record. 40-goal seasons, NHL record. 50-goal seasons, NHL record. Seasons leading the NHL in goals, 9. NHL record. It's like this guy was able to find the net on a regular basis, and that only comes from a massive amount of hard work whenever nobody's watching. The amount of hours this guy has had to put in with his stick and a puck, whether it was just, you know, on the street or inside your house growing up over in Russia, whatever it was, just to get to this point where you have this much control of the puck, this much confidence, this much respect, and this much greatness. It's a massive tribute to the work ethic to get there, and I think that needs to be celebrated as well alongside all the records.
Yeah, think about, like, why does it feel it's so easy to root for Ovi? Is it because he is like what we call a throwback in an era where we don't see a whole lot of guys do it? I guess the way, like, be completely authentic to who he is and still be the. I mean, it's unbelievable when you put up all those records. What 140 something game winning goals or whatever he had. Like 291 go ahead goals is nuts to me. To think, hey, what, game's tied? Here we go. This puts us in the lead. Like everything the guy does, and then obviously this little swan dive situation was just a perfect celebration for Ovi. But the game was 2-1 at the moment. What happened the rest of this game? They had to restart this thing. What did the rest of the guys do after that? That had to be a tough transition to the celebration.
This was like when Drew Brees had that record, right? In the middle, he did the passing thing down there in the Superdome, brother. and they stopped the game basically and had a full celebration. I appreciated the fact that everybody in NHL, everybody in hockey, everybody in the sports world was like, yeah, they should stop the game. Yeah, this is absolutely unbelievable. And to go back to the point in the conversation in the first hour, look at Wayne. That was a good clap. Seemed like he was genuinely okay.
Yeah.
Seemed like he was genuinely thrilled that a record of his was broken, because he's going to be remembered as the greatest of all time regardless. I'm happy that he's confident in himself enough to have that, especially with what we've learned from other sports potentially in the I'm the greatest of my generation, you're the greatest of your generation. Can we get along? Probably not, because there's a little bit of drama and egos and everything like that. So once again, hockey nails it. I appreciate in the first hour, and Conman, you might be able to talk about this because, you used to be a fan of the Bruins, and then obviously the Bruins have certainly tried to change up a little bit this year.
Yeah.
But taking away the pressure of him having to get the goal record before the playoffs, I think is huge.
Yeah.
Like his whole team not having to worry about just getting one of the hardest records of all time, now just being able to focus on hockey. Not that him scoring isn't good for their team, but that's a good pressure, I think, to have off of their shoulder, Conman.
It's also great vibes. Like, of course, get the pressure out of there, but also just for everyone on that team. Like, I know they just brought in a kid from BC who they signed, Leonard, and for him, he scored his first goal on the way to this chase. It was the empty netter, but just for that guy to understand how cool it is for the history to be made and being a part of the team, but just the vibe of the entire, of the entire boys, of the entire bench, the coaches, everything. It's like, okay, now we don't even have to think about this anymore. Now we can just go out and play hockey, and they are one of the best teams in the league, So it's not as if this was one of those situations where, a guy's on the team, similar to Steph Curry, really, like you mentioned before, where, they have this record looming, but also they know, hey, we have a real shot to win, Lordo this year. It wasn't one of those situations where you're kind of limping to the finish and then, happy you get this kind of consolation prize in a bad season. It's like, no, this is one of those things they check off on the road to going to win the entire thing. And, we mentioned before, too, Ovechkin, of course, he broke his leg earlier in the season, but, like, who says this is it? Hopefully he comes back and he has another 2 years, Like, this was really cool. Imagine him getting to 1,000. How cool that would be.
Pat.
Would be very cool, and I don't know if I froze or not, if it's just on my side, but would be incredibly cool. There's somebody that's joining us now that we were kind of dealing with the tech issue, that his opinion worth a lot more than any of ours. Ladies and gentlemen, 6-time Stanley Cup champion, one of the GOATs, Mark Messier.
Yeah,
Moose! How you doing, buddy?
Good. Doing amazing. What a day for hockey yesterday. It was incredible, actually.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Your feelings on basically the full focus of the NHL, at least the coverage. I'm not saying every team has been focusing on it, but has been this great chase. Has this been something that has just been deemed an impossible record to ever be broken? And how do you feel about the NHL embracing Ovi's chase entirely, seemingly, through it all, Moose?
Well, I have to say that nobody thought anybody would break Gordie Howe's records of games played, goals, points. Sure enough, Wayne came along and did all that. I don't think anybody would have thought that Alex Ovechkin would have been able to catch Wayne for 894 goals. It was unthinkable. I mean, we were talking about the statistics last night, 45 goals for 20 straight years, averaging the longevity, the durability, the focus, the commitment. I mean, you can use all the superlatives that you want to describe Alex and what he's been able to accomplish. It's unfathomable. But here we are. Records are made to be broken, as Wayne has always said. And sure enough, always said he'll be the first one there to shake his hand when he does break it. And sure enough, he did.
Yeah, it was a cool moment watching the great one and the great eight embrace each other, as opposed to what some other sports might do. Now, we don't know hockey anywhere near as much as you or anywhere near as much as we know our sport, but we have chatted about this a couple times. How good do you think it is for the Capitals, who have a great team this year, that they kind of get this out of the way now as they look forward to the playoffs? Do you think there was a weight on that team to get this done for Ovi because how much they love him? Do you think it was something that was a distraction, or do you think they were just excited to get this done for their guy in Ovi? And what do you think it means for them going forward now into the most important part of the season?
Well, I can speak firsthand of being in this similar situation with Wayne and Edmonton, chasing 50 goals in 39 games. being a part of all his records, 60-some records that he was chasing. There is some element of, and I don't call it a distraction. I actually think it's one of the things that really galvanized this team this year. And I think one of the most important factors that we can look at through this Ovechkin's race to 895 was how well the team had played, how well they galvanized together as a team. There was a common thread that got that team together this year. Yeah, they made some trades in the offseason, and they improved their team, and a lot of players had great years, but you can't discredit how important this was to the team's success this year. And I think it even made it that much more special that the team was playing well, and they were, leading the league in points for most of the year, and maybe we'll have a chance to win the President's Trophy. I just think it's been a magical year for so many reasons for the Washington Capitals. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of, to be honest with you, is how far Alex has come as a leader. It always wasn't a smooth ride for Alex as a player. Obviously, he's always scoring goals and doing great things. And they had some great teams back in the day, but they had a hard time trying to figure out how to win. And leadership is critical in order for a team to have success. And Alex has become an incredible leader on and off the ice for that team this year. And you can just witness it by the way they talk about him, their body language, their facial expressions. When things are like this are happening, he galvanized, encompassed everybody in this moment, which I think made it so special for the whole organization, the players, managers, coaches, trainers, anybody in that ecosystem, fans alike shared in this moment.
Yeah, hell yeah. And that's the hockey difference. That's the beautiful part of your guys' sport. It does feel like everybody's more together than any other sport in the current moment. You only played for 25 years in the NHL as a captain, so what the hell would you know? AJ has a question for you, Mark.
Yeah, speaking of that, playing for 25 years and being one of the all-time greats in the NHL, I guess for former stars like you, how does it feel with Ovechkin breaking this rule? It feels like, for me at least, as an outsider, kind of a casual, it's so easy to be happy for the guy because he seems like he does it his way. He's, like you said, he's grown into a great leader, but he also seems like a tough dude that will stand up for every one of his teammates and could play in any era. So for you as former players, how does it feel knowing, hey, this is a great guy that actually beat Wayne's record?
Well, for me, it was emotional watching it yesterday because of my history with Wayne as a friend, as a teammate, winning championships, watching history, watching genius my whole career on a day-to-day basis with Wayne. I learned so much from him. His ability to put everybody else ahead of him, the way he put the game ahead of everybody, including himself. And I think, when Gordie Howe was there to greet Wayne and shake his hand when he passed Gordie Howe, that resonated with everybody, I think, in our sport. It certainly resonated with Wayne because he was a big Gordie Howe fan. And he understood the magnitude and gravity of the moment yesterday in the history of our game. And Wayne did such an amazing job, as an ambassador to the game. His whole career he did, but then again yesterday was on full display. And it couldn't have been a better moment for our league. It couldn't have been more inspiring for our boys and girls that, have their own goals and aspirations. And this is something that the new generation of players should be hanging on to because, wow, when you talk about the greats that ever played the game, Alex Ovechkin is going to always be recognized as probably the greatest goal scorer of all time. And that is something that not to be taken lightly.
I like that you, 25 years in the NHL, 6-time Stanley Cup champ, know Wayne on a personal basis and everybody else. You go, probably the best goal scorer of all time because it's going to be a debate amongst people. Everybody else is like, greatest goal scorer of all time, stamped, signed, sealed, delivered. I appreciate your perspective. Now, what is your perspective as a man who played for 25 years in the NHL? Connor has a question.
Yeah, Moose, do you see this being the kind of end to Ovechkin's career? Obviously, who knows what happens in the playoffs, but let's say, the Capitals go on and win Lordo. Do you think Ovechkin kind of sails off into the sunset, or do you think he might still have a few years left here with the Capitals, especially because, they kind of made it out of the rebuild and they're a great, great team again?
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly they've come out of this rebuild. I don't think anybody in hockey saw the success that Washington's had coming into this year, but you got to give everybody in that organization a ton of credit, especially the players. It's funny how teams can grab traction sometimes. You never know what that's going to be or what's going to galvanize a team. Clearly, they galvanize around this case with Alex. But I think for me, if I was a guessing guy, and I don't know Alex well enough to know what his plans are, but I would have to think that he's going to come back at least for one more year. Yes. I think his contract is up after this year, and then I think it'll be determined where he's at. You can see his kids on the ice, his wife, whether he wants to go back to Russia and make a family life there for himself or go back and play there. I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows, but I know one thing, that he'll be back for another year, which is just going to increase that goal lead by even more.
Yeah, up over 1,000, obviously inevitable, seemingly, if he's going to play another year. And hockey seems like such an interesting sport because, like basketball, we were talking to Braun a couple weeks ago. They had Luka, so he's able to go off ball a little bit more. Now, he's still doing windmill dunks at the age of 40, which is absurd. I mean, he's 6'9", so people are going to say should be able to do it. It's like at the age of 40, though, I'm 37. I just pulled a hammy taking a dump in before the show started. But nonetheless, in hockey, you can't really hide, right? Ovi's playing his best season, having his best stuff still, and he's playing the same way he's been playing his whole career, or is there a way that you can adjust as you get older to be able to keep up with the young lad's game?
Yeah, I think his game has changed. I don't think he covers quite as much ice as he used to. I think he conserves his energy. He's a smarter player now. He still gets into the same positions to score as he always did. It's just a different look for him. I don't think he's quite as physical. And let's be honest, he's almost 40 years old. If he doesn't have some young guys around him doing the chopping the wood and carrying the water, they wouldn't have had the year that they have had this year. He's an incredible weapon. A goal-scoring weapon, and that is how they're using him this year. And I kind of compare it to Michael Jordan later in his career. It's not like Michael Jordan couldn't get to the hoop and dunk and do all the crazy things that we had seen him throughout his whole career, but he also developed an incredible outside jump shot from 20 or 25 feet, which made him even that much more dangerous. And if you think about Ovechkin, he can still score from the inside. When he wants to, he can still get to the inside. Nobody can move him because he's so big and strong. And of course, one of the best weapons that he's had his whole career is his shot, which he can score from the outside. So he's still a double threat in that regard. His game, I would say, if there's anything, he just does not cover as much ground as he once did. He uses his energy probably smarter than he did when he was younger. He had more, obviously more giddy up and more horsepower probably then, but he still finds a way, and you got to evolve. He's played 20 years now. If you don't change, if you don't evolve as a player and as a person in the game will pass you by. Him and Sidney Crosby, both, who came in at the same time, have been able to evolve as players, keep up with the times, keep up with the technology, and have remained incredibly relevant in what we consider a young man's sport.
You're the best. We appreciate the hell out of you. That's Mark Messier. We'll be back next week on ESPN. We continue on digital. We'll see you there. Hey, Moose, we appreciate the hell out of you, man. Thank you for taking the time on this historic Monday.
Thanks for having me on. We'll see you guys soon. The playoffs are starting soon.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Let's go, Moose.
Come on now, Moose.
Baby
Moose.
Good nickname, Moose. 25 years in the NHL. D-Butt, 25 years in the NHL.
Hard years.
Because they're running sprints.
Hard years.
They're running sprints.
That's insane. We all know I'm a new NHL fan, but I mean, I understand the physicality of the game. So to play that 2.5 decades, I saw obviously a conversation this morning about comparing OV to LeBron and how the records compare, and how physical different sports. In any sport, you can play and dominate and play at anywhere near the highest level for 2 decades is super impressive. But I didn't know. I know he was coming up and playing the same time as MJ. I didn't know Moose knew ball like that.
Yeah, Moose knows ball. Moose knows life. Yeah. Moose knows leadership too. That's why talking about Ovi's leadership, you could see like Mark Messier, and he became like a guy, in the change room. That is a guy that wants to win, had to change up their style in Washington so they could win Lordo Stanley Cup because it was just the Pittsburgh Penguins, baby. Now, the end of Ovi's career vastly different than seemingly the end of Sidney's career. Nick, what's going on with the Pens? Are we? Is there any chance to make the playoffs, Pittsburgh Penguins? I almost wanted to ask Moose that, but I didn't want to embarrass myself for not knowing.
No, officially eliminated from playoff contention. They did get a win over Gumpy's Texas hockey, though. Sidney Crosby scored a hat trick. Still doing it at this age. Still a point-a-game player. We got,
Sid's still the GOAT.
Just set that record.
Okay, thank you.
The minor league team is on a great pace. They're going to make
Wilkes-Barre
the playoffs.
Scranton?
They got some dogs coming next year. The dogs are coming next year. The boys will be ready to run.
I'd rather talk about
You can't say that.
Oh,
You're going to get us. Yeah. Oh, what happened with the Rizzler? I saw him throwing baseballs.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah. Firing that thing.
95
12 to 6.
Stop.
12 to 6 curveball.
Stop it.
He
Okay.
broke it
on
off
the glove.
I thought it was a splinker.
Kid's fucking 12 years old. He can't. He's two hopping a ball from 15 feet away.
He looked like Barry Zito out there.
That's a good ball.
That's a good throw.
No, it's not.
Good throw.
It was an 0-2 count. He was trying to get
What are
Too
you
many
talking about?
sweatshirts on under his jersey.
You gotta fucking get it there, Riz.
No, Rizzler, that's good throw, Rizzler. They set you up. He should move closer. He wanted to move closer. He knew his distance. He's a Rizzler.
I don't know.
They told him he had to back up a little bit. Yeah, there's no way he's more than 10 years old.
Yeah,
Whatever the
I think
case.
he's 9 or 10.
4 or 5.
Well, if he's 4 or 5,
Whatever
we
the
got a real
case,
problem
Riz
on our
is
young.
hands.
Seems young.
Rizzler is 8 years old.
Okay,
So, hey,
yeah,
Riz,
right,
I'm proud of you stepping up there
Put
and
out that
delivering
new
that, Riz.
banger, too.
And also, exactly. Riz needs to just keep on growing, keep on going. And Ty, you should be happy that it was with the Mets, not with the Yankees, because isn't that your guys' thing? They came to the Yankees and they ruined us, or yada yada. He went to the Mets where everybody's headed.
That
okay?
wasn't
Don't you worry about what the Riz is doing.
That wasn't the Rizzler. That was the Boom family. And if you notice, they weren't anywhere around Yankee Stadium opening weekend when the Yankees, were hitting homers left and right. So I think maybe someone in New York, heard what I had to say about a potential, blood sacrifice or, something to kind of reverse the curse.
Okay.
But listen.
Big Boom is going to be around.
Well,
Big Boom's going to be around.
I don't know, because listen, I love Big Boom. I love AJ. I love Mama Boom. I love Sister Boom. It kind of sounds like they're just, willing to sell themselves off to the highest bidder. I think I saw them booming at the Marlins Park, wearing Marlins tarps. I thought they were Yankees fans. I don't know if they are. But you're right. I mean, the Rizzler, he can do his stuff with the Mets. That's fine by me. All I'm saying is I know the Rizzler's a good athlete. I've seen him on that BMX bike. Okay, he might be a future X Game gold medalist. I just can't have him, four-hopping it from 15 feet away.
They set him up for failure. You saw it. We saw it.
I agree. But then, then that's the Mets are a scumbag.
How would you set him up for success? I'm sorry. How would you set him up for success on that one, Pat?
You move him closer. You just move him closer.
And do a handoff? Like, what are we going to do?
I mean, you can get him some pitching lessons with one of the GOATs, Michael Rubin. Have him kind of show him.
Okay. That was better than that. Exactly. His kid's 8 years old doing his thing. Let's wrap up all the news of today. Teron Armstead retires from the Miami Dolphins. Congrats on a hell of a career. He and Julio Jones announced their retirement. Let's go to Miami Dolphins super fan, Bubba Gumpino, and then we'll obviously get Darius Butler's thoughts. Dolphins in a good spot, or what do we think here, Gumpy?
Teron Armstead and Calais are two leaders of our team gone in the same week. It's tough. Someone's going to have to step up for these boys, and I think we got one D tackle heading into the draft. We need some safeties. We need some quarterbacks. We need a lot of things but Tua's having a good offseason. He was having fun. It's good to see.
Boom.
Yep.
D-Bud, anytime you lose a legend, it's going to affect your team, obviously. Teron Armstead's retirement. I don't know if any of us were talking about it. Offensive line stuff, who knows if you're doing that. What a hell of a career by this guy. Legitimately, 12 years or whatever at the top of the goddamn field.
Yeah, great run towards the end. He was, always battling. Not only like one injury. I felt like every week it was like 3 or 4 different injuries that he was battling through, trying to get out there and play. We're in a tough spot right now, but it's April. Chris Greer, he's still there. He's, got a chance to figure it out. We still got Mike running the show, still got Tua. Tyreek is still on the team for now. We'll see how he stirs the pot, continue going forward. I'm sure we'll see more tweets, more TikToks, more shit from Tyreek, but hopefully we can get him back at an elite level.
Good acting. That was good acting.
Great acting.
That was good acting. He didn't give anything away there.
Looks in
he
shape,
didn't give anything
too.
away. Always going to be in shape, always going to be fast. You know, Ian Rappaport didn't love that he didn't make his bed, but I will say, you watch this video, you can't take it either way, which I think is why it was good acting. I think he probably recorded this, sent this around, and said, what do you think this means? He got 4 different responses. It was like, perfect. Doesn't mean anything then. If it means 4 different things, it doesn't mean anything. Sends it out. Let's go ahead and stir Paul a little bit. That's Tyreek Hill football. Speaking of football, maybe Tyreek should put some hockey skates on. You know, maybe Alexander Ovechkin, since he's got the record, if he sails off in a sunset, maybe he plays American ice football. Did you see what was hitting the internet this weekend, AJ Hawk?
Yes, I am here for this. I would like to attend a game in person at some point.
It's West versus East. Not 100% sure who's representing where, but I know if you're spinning it on the ice and you're high kneeing, high heeling it, this is exactly where you want to be. Bye-bye! Ow! You know, we've obviously had the run on frozen streets before growing up in Four Seasons. I like how hesitant they are. Very, very, very hesitant runners. But I also appreciate the athleticism that's on display and the possibilities of pain that could happen here as you slide in for a tud, AJ Hawk.
Yeah, I just want to know, can I wear old school golf spikes? You know, the old metal golf spikes? That would give me a big. I like that the ref is on skates though. These guys have got linesmen working the crew.
What?
Good pass.
I like the over.
Where is this?
Are these elderly? What is this?
He breaks 2 tackles. He breaks 3 tackles. This man is unstoppable. He's at the 7, then the 3.5. Now he's at the touchdown. That guy, what a hero he was. Bad snaps, avoids disaster, breaks 3 tackles, hits it up the sideline for a tud. That guy's a hero. That might be the American Ice Football MVP for all we know. But, AJ, you got to have good footing. It's hard to break. Defense kind of sucks, but if you get a good shot at him, you got to take him down.
Yeah, good luck, D-Bud, getting into a back pedal and the guy breaks across your
kick.
face. Good luck catching up.
Wow. That's my first time seeing the kick.
Wow.
That's the first time seeing the kick right there.
That's
bowling shoes.
So many questions.
Has to be as slick as possible to go back to your question if they're wearing bowling shoes, because you could also, you got a neck tattoo. That guy is going to be tough to stop, and a couple face tats too. I like the way that guy looks. I'm betting on that guy in American Ice Football. Curling, curling, they have that one shoe that has a couple cleats on it, and then the other one is a slider. Feels like they probably make rules that you got to have the bowling shoes on so it's as slick as possible. D-Butt, how would you fare at American Ice Football, you think?
I don't know. I would be very, very afraid of falling on that ice, taking a bad fall. The footing, I'm not sure the footing. Double moves, impossible to stop, but how do you run them as well? I haven't seen one guy get out of the post yet, so a lot of bad D. I thought from the first few highlights, I for sure thought these were elderly men and possibly women as well. Until I saw because I mean, what do we do? I'll never be this down bad. I did see some Indiana Freight highlights that were absolutely electric.
Fishers.
Son of a bitch. I mean, what fucking state are they in, huh?
Fischer's Freight.
Fischer's Freight. The Fischer Freight.
2-0, undefeated Fischer. I'm sorry, Fischer's Freight. I need to put some respect on
Dominant
that.
football
So yeah, that's something I can get into. That bullshit right there, I'll never be that down.
Come on. It does feel like that is a Caucasian sport there, the American Ice Football. Follow up on the Fischer's Freight. That team's home arena is actually in Bruce Brown's parking lot. So he is kind of taking them as his team. He is now a season ticket holder. He was on the field for the Fischer's Freight home opener the other night. They kicked an onside kick. They had some electrifying stuff. Bruce Brown, how's your front yards football team doing, the Fischer's Freight?
All aboard the Fischer's Freight train. We are on a straight ride to Tucson, Arizona for the IFL Championship. We actually do look like the team to beat in this fucking league. We got Stokes, a dog, bit of a Deebo Samuel comp at wide receiver. Jai Wright's our quarterback out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. He's a dog, all grit, sandpaper, jam, running it in there. And then, our kicker kicked the onside kick, the McAfee special, perfect execution right to himself.
Look at the crowd.
Oh, we were going crazy.
Legit.
We were going crazy.
Legit.
He did miss a couple field goals, though. Might have to get those dialed in, but still stole the possession here to get us up 14-0 early. It was an absolute blast, to be honest with you.
Bruce was on the field, AJ. He was posting pictures. There was nobody in front of him. Bruce, you sat front row. How much were you paying for that? He's in this, I think, aren't you, Bruce?
Where?
I was right there. Yeah, he ran it in right in front of me. Those were $80 a pop. Front row, end zone. Hell of a view. You're right into the action. The guys around me were talking a little bit too much shit to the other team's players. So they were kind of turning around and looking at me, and I was like, guys, look, like, I'm just here having a good time.
That's a sellout, right?
I'm not talking shit to you. I think it was close. The Fuel recently had a sellout that I think was 7,000 strong. This was about 6,700 in the building.
Okay.
On that note, if you want to get tickets to see the Fischer Freight in Bruce's backyard, why don't you use our friends at SeatGeek, the greatest ticket buying platform on planet Earth and
the moon.
The moon. They have 28 million downloads, AJ. 28 million. That's so many downloads, okay? And they're still the #1 rated ticketing app across the board. That's because each ticket that they sell is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. So look for green dots. Green means good. Red means bad deal. Red means, hey, it's a low scoring on their AI scale. You can get a cheaper, better ticket somewhere else, maybe not even on SeatGeek. But if it's green, it says, hey, our AI is super smart, scan the internet. It's a good deal. It's a good ticket. You'll never get catfish with our friends at SeatGeek, and the men's national championship game is tonight. The NBA is heading towards the playoffs. Baseball is electric, and the Fischer Freight are just getting started on their journey to Tucson for the IFL championship. But it's not just sports. It's all anything live. Get $30 off tickets with code PMS2025 right now. Doesn't matter if you're a new or repeat purchaser. $30 off with code PMS2025. Restrictions apply, which is if the ticket's cheaper than $30 probably. All right, boys, let's get out of here. We got Wednesday night, big night. And 8 o'clock, it'll be on YouTube, TikTok Live, and X re-air with behind-the-scenes footage like a documentary style on Thursday at Hulu. There's going to be massive surprises. I mean, I can't say this enough. Massive surprises, massive giveaways, massive sing-alongs, hopefully some big laughs, and hopefully a night that'll be talked about forever and will be an additive to society, which is all we're trying to be. I got to get out of here, get ready to Raw. The boys got to travel over to Pittsburgh. We will see you all on Wednesday. Enjoy tonight's national championship. Enjoy the Masters. Enjoy life, and hopefully you'll enjoy Wednesday night alongside of us. And if not, we'll see you next Monday. We're all in this thing together. Let's never forget it. Every single day trying to be an additive. Hopefully that's my mission. Hopefully that's yours as well. And let's remember, we might disagree on some things, but we got to live here together as a whole. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. We're in this thing together. Team on me. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3. Team. Goodbye.